she thought, something most like a lion, and it came a great padding pace after, and it had a hollow voice of roaring, and at every roar that it gave, it made all the valley echo, and all their hearts to ache, save the heart of him that was their guide. So it came up, and Mr. Greatheart went behind, and put the pilgrims all before him. The lion also came on apace, and Mr. Greatheart addressed himself to give him battle. But when he saw that it was determined that resistance should be made, he also drew back, and came no farther. They then went on again, and their conductor did go before them, till they came to a place where was cast up a pit the whole breadth of the way, and before they could be prepared to go over that, a great mist and darkness fell upon them, so that they could not see. Then said the pilgrims,
Alas, what now shall we do?
But their guide made answer,
Fear not, stand still, and see what an end will be put to this also.
So they stayed there, because their path was marred. They then also thought that they did hear more apparently the noise and rushing of the enemies. The fire also, and the smoke of the pit, were much easier to be discerned. Then said Christiana to Mercy,
Now I see what my poor husband went through. I have heard much of this place, but I never was here before now. Poor man, he went here all alone in the night. He had night almost quite through the way. Also these fiends were busy about him, as if they would have torn him in pieces. Many have spoken of it, but none can tell what the valley of the shadow of death should mean, until they come in it themselves.
I won't even do that.
The heart knoweth its own bitterness, and a stranger intermeddleth not with its joy. To be here is a fearful thing.
This is like doing business in great waters, or like going down into the deep. This is like being in the heart of the sea, and like going down to the bottoms of the mountains. Now it seems as if the earth with its bars were about us forever. But let them that walk in darkness and have no light trust in the name of the Lord, and stay upon their God. For my part, as I have told you already, I have gone often through this valley, and have been much harder put to it than now I am, and yet, you see, I am alive. I would not boast, for that I am not mine own Saviour, but I trust we shall have a good deliverance. Come, let us pray for light to him that can lighten our darkness, and that can rebuke not only these, but all of the Satans in hell.
So they cried and prayed.
You fooker.
And going down to the bottoms of the mountains. Is it also?
So they stayed there. For as she thought, something most like a lion, and it came a great padding pace after, and it had a hollow voice of roaring, and at every roar that it gave, it made all the valley echo, and all their hearts to ache, save the heart of him that was their guide. So it came up, and Mr. Greatheart went behind, and put the pilgrims all before him. The lion also came on apace, and Mr. Greatheart addressed himself to give him battle.
Because they got bundles on, they won't let me do it.
That resistance should be made, he also drew back, and came no farther. They then went on again, and their conductor did go
Kind of
before
annoying,
them,
but
till they came to a place where was cast up a pit the whole breadth of
I
the
have
way.
bundles on anyways.
Before they could be prepared to go over that, a great mist and darkness fell upon them, so that they could not see. Then said the pilgrims,
Alas, what now shall we do? I never was quite in pieces.
and God sent light and deliverance, for there was now no hindrance in their way. No, not there where, but now they were stopped with a pit. Yet they were not got through the valley. So they went on still, and behold, great stinks and loathsome smells, to the great annoyance of them. Then said Mercy to Christiana,
It is not so pleasant being here as at the gate, or at the interpreter's, or at the house where we lay last. But
said one of the
There
boys.
will be no other.
It's not so
there's
bad
no
to go
phone.
through here as it is to abide here always. And, for all I know, one reason why we must go this way and has prepared for us is that our home might be made the sweeter to us.
Well said, Samuel.
Quoth the guide.
Thou hast now spoke like a man.
Why, if ever I get out here again,
Said the boy.
I think I shall prize light and a good way better than I did in all my life.
Then said the guide.
We shall be out by and by.
So on they went, and Joseph said.
Can't we see to the end of this valley as yet?
Then said the guide.
Look to your feet, for we shall presently be among the snares.
So they looked to their feet and went on, but they were troubled much with the snares. Now, when they were come among the snares, they espied a man cast into the ditch on the left hand, with his flesh all rent and torn. Then said the guide.
That is one heedless, that was going this way. He has lain there a great while. There was one take heed with him when he was taken and slain, but he escaped their hands. You cannot imagine how many are killed hereabouts, and yet men are so foolishly venturous as to set out lightly on pilgrimage, and to come without a guide. Poor Christian, it is a wonder that he here escaped. But he was beloved of his God. Also he had a good heart of his own.
Now they drew to
Here escaped. But he was beloved of his God. Also he had a good heart of his own, or else he could never have done it.
Now they drew toward the end of the way, and just where Christian had seen the cave when he went by, out there came forth Maul, a giant. This Maul did used to spoil young pilgrims by deceiving them, and he called Greatheart by his name, and said unto him,
How many times have you been forbidden to do these things?
Then said Greatheart,
What things?
What things?
quoth the giant,
You know what things, but I will put an end to your trade.
But pray,
said Mr. Greatheart.
before we fall to it, let us understand wherefore we must fight.
Now the women and children stood trembling, and knew not what to do. Quoth the giant,
You rob the country and rub it with the west of sense.
These are but random words.
said Mr. Greatheart.
Tell what robberies I have done, man.
Then said the giant,
Thou practicest the craft of a kidnapper. Thou gatherest up and carriest them into a strange country, to the weakening of my master's kingdom.
Mr. Greatheart replied,
I am a servant of the God of heaven. My business is to persuade sinners to turn to God. I am commanded to do my best, to turn men, women, and children from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God. And if this be indeed the ground of thy quarrel, let us fall to it as soon.
It's absolutely bonkers that you can walk into a store and
Trailer 2 is one of the highly anticipated topics talked about from GTA 6. And today, we're going to talk about everything we know so far about the GTA 6 trailer number 2. So we're going to be taking a look at the GTA 6, and as well as some information from GTA 5, to compare, the release date, the time frames of, the stuff that we saw for GTA 5. Trailers, gameplay, and stuff like that. So let's get straight into the video. If you're looking for affordable and reliable GTA Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, Discord Sale Plus, and BPS products, check out my Linktree page. There's a link to the description or in the pinned comment below. So over here we have the GTA 5 timeline you guys can see. So we're gonna start off from the November 2nd one, which we had the trailer one, you guys know, on November 2nd of 2011. Which after a year and 12 days, we got the trailer number 2, you guys can see. And then after 5 months and 15 days, we got the trailer 3 on April 30th of 2013, which we also got later on the way. Trailer 2 is one of the highly anticipated.
It was told you before that Prudence bid the boys, if at any time they would, they should ask her some questions that might be profitable, and she would say something to them. Then Matthew, who had been sick, asked her,
Why, for the most part, is it to be bitter to our palates?
To show how unwelcome the word of God and the effect thereof are to a sinful heart.
Why does physic, if it does good, purge and cause that we vomit?
To show that the word, when it works effectually, cleanseth the heart and mind. For look, what the one doth to the body, the other doth to the soul.
What should we learn by seeing the flame of our fire go upwards, and by seeing the deep and sweet influences of the sun strike downwards?
By the going up of the fire we are taught to ascend to heaven by fervent and hot desires. By the sun's sending his heat, beams, and sweet influences downwards, we are taught that the Saviour of the world, though high, reaches down with his grace and love us below.
Where have the clouds their water?
Out of the sea.
What may we learn from that?
That ministers should fetch their teaching from God.
Why do they empty themselves upon the earth?
To show that ministers should give out what they know of God to the world.
Why is the rainbow caused by the sun?
Give out what they know of God to the world.
Why is the rainbow caused by the sun?
To show that the promise of God's grace is made sure to us in Christ.
Why do the springs come from the sea to us through the earth?
To show that the grace of God comes to us through the body of Christ.
Why do some springs rise out of the top of high hills?
To show that the Spirit of grace shall spring up in some that are great and mighty, as well as in many that are poor and low.
Why doth the fire fasten upon the candle wick?
To show that, unless grace doth kindle upon the heart, there will be no true light of light.
Why is the wick and tallow and all spent to maintain the light of the candle?
To show that body and soul and all should be at the service of and spend themselves to maintain in good condition the grace of God that is in us.
Why doth the pelican pierce her own breast with her bill?
To nourish her young ones with her blood, and thereby to show that Christ the Blessed so loveth his young, his people, as to save them from death by his blood.
What may one learn by hearing the cock to crow?
Learn to remember Peter's sin and Peter's sorrow. The cock's crowing shows also that day is coming on. Let then the crowing of the cock put thee in mind of that last and terrible day of judgment.
Now, about this time their month was out, wherefore they signified to those of the house that it was convenient for them to be up and going. Then said Joseph to his mother,
It is convenient that you forget not to send to the house of Mr. Interpreter to pray him to grant that Mr. Grethart should be sent unto us, that he may be our conductor of the rest of our way.
Good boy,
said she.
I had almost forgot.
So he drew up a petition, and prayed Mr. Watchful, the porter, to send it by some fit man to her good friend Mr. Interpreter, who, when it was come, having seen the contents of the petition, said to the messenger,
Go, and tell them that I will send him.
When the family where Christiana was saw that they had a purpose to go forward, they called the whole council to give thanks to their king for sending of them such profitable guests as these. Which done, they said unto Christiana,
And shall we not show thee something according as our custom is to do to pilgrims, on which thou mayest meditate when thou art upon the way?
So they took Christiana, her children, and Mercy into the closet, and showed them one of the apples that Eve did eat of, and that which she also did give to her husband, and that for the eating of which they were both turned out of paradise, and asked her what she thought that was. Then Christiana said,
It is food or poison, I know not which.
So they opened the matter to her, and she held up her hands and wondered. Then they had her to a place, and showed her Jacob's ladder. Now, at that time there were some angels ascending upon it. So Christiana looked and looked to see the angels go up, and so did the rest of the company. Then they were going into another place to show them something else. But James said to his mother,
Pray, let him stay here a little longer, for this is a curious sight.
So So they turned again and stood feeding their eyes with this so pleasing a prospect. After this, they had them into a place where did hang up a golden anchor. So they bid Christiana take it down.
For,
said they,
you shall have it with you, for it is of absolute necessity that you should, in case you should meet with me.
So they were glad then. Then they took them and had them to the house upon which Abraham our father had offered up Isaac his son, and showed them the altar, the wood, the fire, and the knife. But they remain to be seen to this very day. When they had seen it, they held up their hands and blessed themselves, and said,
Oh, what a man for love to his master, and for denial to himself was Abraham.
After they had showed them all these things, Prudence took them into the dining room, where stood a pair of excellent virginals. So they played upon them, and turned what she had showed them into this excellent song, saying, Now, about this time, one knocked at the door. So the porter opened, and behold, Mr. Greatheart was there. But when he was come in, what joy was there? For it came now fresh again to their minds how, but a while ago, he had slain the old grim bloody man.
Oh, no, you did not. Oh, I gotta
run. Then said Mr. Greatheart to Christiana and to Mercy,
My lord has sent each of you a bottle of wine, and also some parched corn, together with a couple of pomegranates. He has also sent the boys some fruit and raisins to refresh you in your way.
Then they addressed themselves to their journey, and Prudence and Piety went along with them. When they came at the gate, Christiana asked the porter if anyone of late went by. He said,
No, only one sometime since. There had been a great robbery committed on the king's highway, that's all. But he saith the thieves are taken, and will shortly be tried for their lives.
Then Christiana and Mercy were afraid, but Matthew said,
Fear nothing as long as Mr. Greatheart is to go with us, and to be our conductor.
Then said Christiana to the porter,
Sir, I am much obliged to you for all the kindnesses that you have shown me since I came hither, and also for that you have been so loving and kind to my children. I know not how to gratify your kindness, wherefore, pray, as a token of my respects to you, accept of this small mite.
So she put a gold angel in his hand, and he made her a low obeisance, and said,
Let thy garments be always white, and let thy head touch no sin. Let mercy live and not die, and let not her work be few.
And to the porter she said,
Do youthfully youthful passions, and follow after godliness with them that are grave and wise. So shall you put gladness into your mother's heart, and obtain praise of all that are sober-minded.
So they thanked the porter and departed. Now, I saw in my dream that they went forward until they came to the brow of a hill, where Piety, bethinking herself, cried out,
Alas, I have forgot what I intended to bestow upon Christiana and her companions. I will go back and fetch it.
So she ran and fetched it. While she was gone, Christiana thought she heard, in a grove a little way off on the right hand, a most curious melodious note, with words much like these.
Through all my life thy favor is so frankly shown to me. My house forevermore, my dwelling place shall be.
And listening still, she thought she heard another answer it, saying,
For why the Lord our God is good, His mercy is forever sure. His truth at all times firmly stood, and shall from age to age endure.
So Christiana asked Prudence what it was that made those curious notes.
I need to hurry up and find the village.
Said she.
Are country birds. They sing these notes but seldom, except it be at the spring, when the flowers appear and the sun shines warm, then you may hear them all day long. I often
said she.
go out to hear them. We also oft times keep them tame in our house. They are very fine company for us when we are melancholy. Also they make the woods and groves and solitary places desirable to be in.
By this time Piety was come again, so she said to Christiana,
Look here, I have brought thee a plan of all those things that thou hast seen at our house, upon which thou mayest look, when thou findest thyself forgetful, and call those things again to remembrance, their teaching and comfort. Thou mayest look, when thou findest thyself forgetful, and call those things again to remembrance, for thy teaching and comfort.
End of Part 2, Chapter 5.
No, idiot.
The Pilgrim's Progress, Part 2, Chapter 6. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, Part 2, Chapter 6. The Valley of Humiliation. Now they began to go down the hill into the Valley of Humiliation. It was a steep hill and the way was slippery, but they were very careful, so they got down pretty well. When they were down in the valley, Piety said to Christiana,
This is the place where Christian, your husband, met with a foul fiend, Apollyon, and where they had that dreadful fight that they had. I know you cannot but have heard thereof. But be of good courage. As long as you have here Mr. Greatheart to be your guide and conductor, we hope you will fare the better.
So when these two had given the pilgrims unto the care of their guide, he went forward, and they went after. Then said Mr. Greatheart,
We need not be so afraid of this valley, for there is nothing to hurt us, unless we procure it to ourselves. It is true that Christian did here meet with Apollyon, with whom he had also a sore combat, but that fray was the fruit of those slips that he got in his going down the hill. For they that get slips there must look for combats here, and hence it is that this valley has got so hard a name. For the common people, when they hear that some frightful thing has befallen such a one in such a place, are of an opinion that that place is haunted with some foul fiend or evil spirit, when, alas, it is for the fruit of their doing that such things do befall them there. This valley of humiliation is of itself as fruitful a place as any the crow flies over, and I am persuaded if we could hit upon it, we might find, somewhere hereabouts, something that might give us an account why Christian was so hardly beset in this place.
Then said James to his mother,
Lo, yonder stands a pillar, and it looks as if something was written there wrong. Let us go and see what it is.
So they went, and found there written that Christian's slips before he came hither, and the battle that he met with in this place, be a warning to those that come after.
Lo,
said their guide,
did I not tell you that there was something hereabouts that would give intimation of the reason why Christian was so hard beset in this place?
Then, turning himself to Christiana, he said,
No disgrace to Christian, more than to many others whose hap and loss his was, for it is easier going up than down this hill, and that can be said but of few hills in all these parts of the world. But we will leave the good man, he is at rest. He also had a brave victory over his enemy. Let him that dwelleth above grant that we fare no worse when we come to be tried than he. But we will come again to this valley of humiliation. It is the best and most fruitful piece of ground in all these parts. It is fat ground, and, as you see, consisteth much in meadows. If a man was to come here in the summer-time, as we do now, he knew not anything before thereof, and if he also delighted himself in the sight of ground, he might see that that would be delightful to him. Behold how green this valley is, also how beautified with lilies. I have also known many labouring men, who have got good estates in this valley of humiliation. For God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace to the humble. Indeed, it is a very fruitful soil, and doth bring forth by handfuls. Some also have written, the next way to their father's house were here, and that they might be troubled no more with either hills or mountains to go over. But the way is the way, and there's an end.
Now, as they were going along and talking, they espied a boy feeding his father's sheep. The boy was in very mean clothes, but of a very fresh and well-favored countenance. And as he sat by himself, he said,
since it's got bundles,
said Mr. Greatheart,
to what the shepherd's voice saith.
So they hearkened, and he said,
He that is down needs to bear no fall. He that is low, no pride. He that is humble, ever shall have God to be his guide. I am content with what I have, little be it or much. And Lord, contentment still I crave, because thou savest much. Fullness to such a burden is, that go on pilgrimage. Here little and hereafter bliss, is best from age to age.
Then said their guide,
Do you hear him? I will dare to say that this boy lives a merrier life, and wears more of that herb called heart's ease in his bosom, than he that is clad in silk and velvet. But we will proceed in our account of this valley. In this valley our Lord formerly had his country house. He loved much to be here. He loved also to walk these meadows, for he found the air was pleasant. Besides, here a man shall be free from the noise and from the hurryings of this life. All states are full of noise and confusion. Only the valley of humiliation is that empty and solitary place. Here a man shall not be so let in his thoughts as in other places he is apt to be. This is a valley that nobody walks in, but those that love a pilgrim's
don't
life.
forget to like, comment, subscribe.
And
I don't
though
know what they're
Christian
going to
had
do for
the
this
hard
one.
hap to meet here with Apollyon, and to enter with him into a brisk encounter, yet I must tell you that in former times men have met with angels here, have found pearls here, and have in this place found the words of life.
Hit that like button, subscribe
Did
to
I
the channel.
say our Lord had
Set him
here
up
in
preparing
former
for
days his country house,
shutting down.
and that he loved here to walk? I will add, in this place, and to the people that love to tread these grounds, he has left a yearly sum of money to be faithfully paid them at certain seasons, for their support by the way, and for their further encouragement to go on their pilgrimage.
Now, as they went on, Samuel said to Mr. Greatheart,
When I mention old Minecraft YouTubers, who comes to mind? To many there is one name that would pop into their head. This man was a true pioneer of Minecraft, inspiring thousands to get into the game for themselves. His videos sit among other legendary Minecraft, inspiring thousands to get into the game for themselves. His videos sit among other legendary Minecraft series, such as X's Adventures in Minecraft and Paul Souls Jr.'s. This man even has a record of his own, the longest running Let's Play series in the history of Minecraft. Today we will be diving into the story of the Minecrafter known as Ethos Lab. Let's begin. Ethos Lab would upload his first YouTube video on November 13th, 2010, titled Minecraft Boat Dispenser. It was a system that dispensed a boat at the click of a button, holding up to 6 boats at once. As Etho had always had trouble with boats floating away and cluttering up space, this was the perfect solution. When the player finished with the boat, they would bump it on lava, as such breaking the boat down into its component pieces.
When did Minecraft get released? What month in 2010 was Minecraft released? Alpha lasted from June 30th to December 3rd. 2010. Yeah, okay. Beta lasted from December 20th, 2010 all the way through to November 11th, 2011. Wow. Oh, that was a... Okay, yeah. We played in... Could've sworn that was 2011, supposedly. Okay, so 2011. Because I played that... Had to have been November sometime. Wait. Yeah, had to have been because I played a little bit of Minecraft. I regret not playing it.
To then be collected by the player.
More so.
He made this video on the alpha version of the game, meaning dispensers were yet to exist, so Etho had to make his own, utilizing water streams and doors to move boats along, and to shoot the first boat to the surface for use. The contraption was very advanced for how early it was in Minecraft history, but Etho would...
I'll be right back.
stop there. He would continue to make YouTube videos showcasing his
Yeah,
Minecraft
thanks for your
contraptions
patience.
and
So sorry.
builds. His second video would be a world tour of his first ever Minecraft world, which was extremely impressive for its time. The world included many large buildings, farms, and various contraptions. During late 2010 and early 2011, Etho would release some very advanced Minecraft contraptions for the time, and he would mainly focus on this in his uploads. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to go down, hit that subscribe button, back to the video. In December of 2010, he would release his famous Advanced Transportation System, known as EATS for short. The system used water streams spaced by sides in order to reach the maximum speed for a boat. The system could be set up like a road and acted like one too, with the ability to merge four-way intersections. It even featured an abandoned boat handling system. For this reason, Etho believed it possessed the potential to be better than minecart transportation. This was still very early on in his YouTube career, and Etho would not yet talk in his videos. This would all change on December 18th, 2010, with episode 1 of his Minecraft Let's Play.
Hello everyone, my name is Etho, and this is my new Minecraft world that I've started. Lately I've been having a lot of people asking me to make a Minecraft Let's Play series.
Etho's Let's Play series was among the earliest Minecraft Let's Plays in history, releasing shortly after X's Adventures in Minecraft and Paul Source Jr.'s series. Etho would mention how he usually plays on peaceful mode, but for the purpose of this Let's Play he would play on hard. He would also assume that the viewer already knew the basics of Minecraft. As nightfall dawned on his new world, Etho bunkered down in a hidey hole he dug out of the sand in a beach. The video would end with him emerging from his hole to find the sun rising on the second day of his Minecraft world. Etho would continue this Let's Play series for 101 episodes until its conclusion on September 15, 2011. The series spanned many versions of the game and ended on beta version 1.8. Although this would spell the end for this world, Etho would go on to create his next Let's Play, which would be the longest running Let's Play series in the history of Minecraft. But more about that in a minute. Around this time, Etho would upload a short series on a plan-made map titled Canopy Carnage, which was a large island covered in a dense forest featuring many dungeons. The player would spawn next to a broken nether portal atop the giant trees, and had to survive in the hostile world. The map had a very surreal look, almost like something from a dream. The series would end in October of... When I mention old Minecraft, which was a large island something from a dream. The series would end in October of 2011 on episode 15. This period also saw many redstone contraptions by Etho, including a water spawner contraption in which mobs...
Fallout lore. I said lore, you idiot. Fallout lore.
Nothing beats a night out with a merry band of friends. When you drink and fry, you're rolling the dice with your life and the lives of others. So make the
Before you've even got time to finish your morning coffee, a Vault-Tec representative turns up at your door and asks you, the player character, aka the sole survivor, a few personal questions about your future. Good thing too is a few short minutes later the first nukes start to fall on the US, and you, your spouse and your infant son Sean are whisked off to the local vault, number 111. And just in the nick of time as well, as a nuclear blast eviscerates the horizon as you descend into the underground vault. The sole survivor and his family don the iconic blue and yellow vault suits and settle in for a long, peaceful sleep in a cryogenic chamber. We'll catch up on their slumber in a good 200 odd years, but in the meantime we're heading west to LA for even more nuclear devastation. Yep, happening concurrently currently to the blast back in Boston is the total nuclear obliteration of Los Angeles, as seen in the prologue of the Fallout TV show. Here we catch up again with Cooper Howard, who's fallen from the heights of his Hollywood career to become, well, a glorified children's entertainer. He's performing at a birthday party at a swanky LA villa overlooking the skyscrapers of downtown Los Angeles. Said skyscrapers are not long for this world though, as the horizon is inevitably lit up by the harrowing sights of mushroom clouds. With the sky falling down on the City of Angels, Coop scoops his young daughter up onto his horse in an ill-fated attempt to escape the nuclear devastation. We'll catch back up with Coop later on in the timeline, but before that, let's get our first taste of the irradiated wastelands. The first vault to open, that we know about at least, is Vault 76, which opened 25 years after the Great War on Reclamation Day 2102. Situated in the Appalachians of West Virginia, Vault 76 is home to the best and brightest minds that the USA has to offer, which makes it ironic if you choose one as your intelligence, but that's a moot point. Tasked with repopulating the wastelands of West Virginia, the clever little citizens of Vault 76 head on out into, well, a bit of a lifeless, lonely world. Well, at least that was the case when the multiplayer game originally launched. You see, non-player characters or NPCs didn't start populating the game until the Wastelanders DLC launched, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. Anyway, the player character is given a secret mission by the Vault Overseer, a mission to secure a weapon of nuclear weaponry. Only there's a bit of a problem in the Appalachians. In the 25 or so years since nuclear devastation, a plague of beasts known as the Scorch have taken control of the land. Mind-controlled by some giant bee-like Scorch beast, the Scorch present quite the obstacle to repopulating the wastelands. And so the bulk of Fallout 76's narrative sees the player character tracking down a way to destroy the Scorch. And the answer, as we all know, is to nuke them.
It's the only way to be sure.
En route to this endgame, the player character eventually discovers that the Scorch might actually have been created in a lab. But despite this revelation, the plan is still to nuke the ever-living crap out of them.
We got
And
this
after
big
they kill the
mesa
Scorch Beast Queen thing, the connection to the rest of the Scorch breaks.
platform right here.
Only there be treasure in them hills, bub. Or so the rumours going. DLC expansion for Fallout 76 for Wastelanders.
Yep, as I mentioned before, with the threat of the Scorched extinguished, people start to return to the area in dribs and drabs, and two major factions begin to emerge out of the rabble. The Settlers and the Raiders. Rumours of a vast treasure lead the player character to discover the existence of Vault 79, which basically houses the the player chooses their allegiance to either the Settlers or the Raiders, and heads off to raid Vault 79. And depending on your decision making, you can choose to spread the wealth any number of ways, most of which will just break the delicate balance of power in the area between the two factions. Naturally, as an ever-expanding multiplayer game, the story is constantly evolving, but there are two beats still to mention. The first is the introduction of a Fallout franchise staple, the Brotherhood of Steel. This highly militaristic faction is a post-war creation, built up out of the remnants of the US Army with the core goal of securing and preserving technologically advanced pre-war weaponry and kit. And they're often seen sporting that great big hulking tank-like power armor. Anyway, they set up their base of operations in West Virginia in the old Atlas Observatory, which they rechristened Fort Atlas, as that has presumably got more than As the player character, you can ally yourself with the Brotherhood in a bid to help keep the Wastelanders of the Appalachians safe, and or help the Brotherhood of Steel double down on their mission to secure pre-war weaponry. And lastly, for Fallout 76 are the Expeditions, which takes the player character away from West Virginia to visit the ruins of Vicksburg, affectionately known as the Pit, and Atlantic City. From the wastelands of West Virginia, we travel west to the remnants of California in the year 2161 for the events of the very first Fallout game. Here we witness the story of the Vault Dweller, a citizen of the ill-fated Vault 13, which has got a problem, a big one. An all-important microchip that controls their water processing unit has given up the ghost, and the Vault Dweller is on the wasteland to locate a new one. This mission takes the Vault Dweller to the ruins of the nearby Vault 15, and then onwards to Vault 12, which is located underneath a city known as Necropolis, which is populated by ghouls, humans who've become hideously deformed by nuclear radiation. And it's here, underneath this city of the Walking Dead, that the Vault Dweller finds a replacement chip to solve Vault 13. which is populated by ghouls, humans who've become hideously deformed by nuclear radiation. And it's here, underneath this city of the Walking Dead, that the Vault Dweller finds a replacement chip to solve Vault 13's water problem. One of the first major settlements that the Vault Dweller visits is a little place by the name of Shady Sands, which will become one of the most important townships in the whole series. For now, it's a humble little place that's managed to establish itself as a thriving little community. We'll catch up with this place a few times on the timeline, but let's just say its future is not looking bright. Only there's a lurking threat in the wastelands of California, a contingent of mutants that have proliferated throughout the world known as super mutants. The Vault Dweller traces these reports back to a quasi-religious movement called the Children of the Cathedral, which is headed up by a super mutant called the Master. Long story short, the Vault Dweller is tasked by the Overseer of Vault 13 with eradicating the super mutants, which leads him to encountering a conspiracy within the Cathedral. You see, it turns out that the Master is capturing humans and turning them into super mutants using something known as the Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV, which is contained within a series of bats that glow with an unhealthy green glow, which just screams danger to me. Anyway, as Fallout is a classical RPG, you can see about this mission in a couple of different ways, with the ultimate end goal of destroying the vats of green FEV goop and neutralising the super mutant threat. And for all the Vault Dweller's efforts, you'd think that they'd be cheered back into Vault 13 as a hero, right? Wrong. The Overseer flat out denies the Vault Dweller entry back into their home on the grounds that he's worried that your actions will inspire future generations to leave the Vault and undermine all the hard work of keeping it going strong. And so Fallout comes to an end with the Vault Dweller exiled to the wastelands.
I do a cliff edge.
All of which brings us to the year 2197, the year in which Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel takes place. And this is where the timeline gets a little funky. As while Tactics isn't canon, some elements of the story are canon. Let me explain. The main gist of Tactics is that it vastly expands the story behind the Brotherhood of Steel, specifically one of the faction's chapters in the Midwest of America. The game sees you join the Brotherhood as an initiate and help them move across the country from Chicago down to Colorado. Bethesda have outright said that the game isn't a part of the larger franchise's canon, but they have included a few references to the Brotherhood's operations in the Midwest since they took over the series. And all of this is further confused by another game, helpfully called Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, which launched on consoles in 2004 and is also considered totally non-canon. In short, we can largely ignore both of these games in the grand scheme of things. After our non-canonical detour, we're back on the West Coast in the year 2241 for the events of Fallout 2. Here we learn what became of the Vault Dweller after he was exiled in the first game. He eventually settles in a village called Arroyo, and his family in 80-odd years where he has a family, and 80-odd years down the line we catch up with one of his descendants, who goes by the grandiose name of the Chosen One. You are the Chosen One! Much like their ancestor, the Chosen One is tasked with saving their community, in this case Arroyo, which is suffering from the effects of a devastating drought. And so the Chosen One is sent out into the world to find something that is known as the Garden of Eden kit, or GECK for short, a terraforming kit that is capable of creating life out of, well, nothing. Although, as the advert says, results may vary. Anyway, the Chosen One ventures out in search of the GECK and eventually comes across the remains of Vault 13, which has now become increasingly defecated, which are vicious, dinosaur-like beasts. Just a quick word on our old pals at Shady Sands, which the Chosen One can visit in Fallout 2. Not content with being just a thriving community, Shady Sands has become the home capital of one of Fallout's biggest factions, an organisation known as the New California Republic, or NCR for short. In Fallout terms, they are basically the nearest thing to an actual functioning community. Remember the NCR, they'll become very important further down the line. Upon returning home to report on their findings, the Chosen One discovers that Arroyo has been taken over by an organisation called the Enclave, which is basically made up of what's left of the US government. Sitting on a cache of sophisticated technology and weaponry, the Enclave basically tries to rule the US with an iron fist, so naturally they need taking down a peg or two. And so that becomes the Chosen One's core mission: take down the Enclave and save the poor citizens of Arroyo. They set about this by charting a course on a giant freight ship to the Enclave's base of operations, an offshore oil rig where they discover that both the residents of Arroyo and Vault 13 are being held captive. To make matters worse, the Enclave have evolved the nasty FEV from the original game into an airborne virus, which will help them maintain their control over the local population. The Chosen One naturally throws a spanner into the works though, saves the Arroyo and Vault 13 hostages, and kills the head of the Enclave, who's also the President of the US to boot. And with this happy ending, the combined forces of Vault 13 and Arroyo create a prosperous community together with the aid of a newly found Gek. Just don't mention those devastating death claws.
Garden of Eden. What does Gek stand for in Creation Kit? What does Gek stand for in Fallout? Gek, you fucking idiot. What does Gek stand for in Fallout? You guys are fucking idiots. What does Gek stand for in Fallout? What does GECK stand for in Fallout? Garden of Eden Creation Kit. Terraforming device created by Future Tech. Nuclear wasteland for vault dwellers.
Next up, we're heading back east to Vault 101, the home of the Lone Wanderer from Fallout 3, whose early life we see play out in the prologue of that game. Kicking off in 2258, Fallout 3's prologue starts right at the very beginning of the Lone Wanderer's life, as they are brought into the world and into the arms of their father, voiced by Liam Neeson and his wonderful Irish purr.
Boy, we've got a son, Catherine.
And across the next 16 years, we see the Wanderer grow up, toddling around their playpen, having their 10th birthday, and sitting their GOAT exams as a teenager. Life seems pretty idyllic in Vault 101. Well, as idyllic as you can get for a life underground in a grim grey vault. Naturally, that peace doesn't last. The ship hits the fan in Vault 101 as the Lone Wanderer turns 19 in the year 2277, and this kickstarts the main plot of Fallout 3. Yet, things go sideways for the Wanderer when they're awoken to be told that their father has left the vault, something that has never happened before in Vault 101. Although that'll prove to be a fib, I'll explain shortly. With the Overseer and his men going a little crazy in the circumstances, the Lone Wanderer is forced to flee for their safety and into the surrounding capital wasteland, the irradiated remains of the land surrounding Washington, D.C. Yeah, it's a real out of the frying pan and into the fire moment for our young hero. And so the Lone Wanderer ventures out into the capital wasteland in search of their father, a quest that makes up the main bulk of Fallout 3's story. On their travels through the wasteland, the Wanderer travels to a variety of different settlements. Chief among them, the town of Megaton, named for an unexploded nuclear bomb buried in the foundations of the city, the remnants of Washington, D.C., which houses the Galaxy News radio station and the toppest of top lads, Three Dog, and a giant battleship that's been rechristened Rivet City.
We're gonna go back up to the top because we're gonna do like the vault in that one picture.
More about their parents' history, namely that they weren't actually born in Vault 101, which is actually a double shock as we also discover that 101 was designed never to be opened as part of those sinister social experiments I mentioned earlier. Anyway, as they continue to explore the waste, the Wanderer eventually meets a scientist called Dr. Madison Lee, who worked alongside their father. While chatting to Dr. Lee, we learn that James, the Wanderer's father, was once involved in
these will be the higher levels.
Project
The
Purity.
garden.
More on that in just a second. But had to take refuge in Vault 101 in the wake of his partner's death during childbirth. On top of all these meaty revelations, the Lone Wanderer gets embroiled in the power struggle between the two heavyweight factions in the wasteland. The corrupt bureaucratic bastards at the Enclave led by President Henry Eden, whose shock twist is actually an AI, and a splinter group of the Brotherhood of Steel led by the charismatic Elder Owen Lyons. And at the centre of these two warring factions is the aforementioned Project Purity, a giant water processing plant that helps feed a clean water supply to the wider DC area. While you can ally yourself with either faction, along with a whole host of other factions across the Capital Wasteland, you are largely pushed towards joining the Brotherhood after you learn that the Lone Wanderer's father worked with them in the past. All of this eventually leads the Lone Wanderer into taking up their father's mission by seeking out a Gek in order to... Amidst helping out with the project, the Wanderer actually tracks down their father to another vault, 112 to be precise, where they have to free him from some bizarre virtual reality nightmare. And with James and the Wanderer reunited, they team up with the good Dr. Lee to resume work on the gestating project. The Enclave has different ideas though, and an ambush led by Henry Eden's right-hand man, Colonel Autumn Augustus, results in James's death, when he sacrifices himself to keep the project out of the bureaucrat's hands. The Wanderer eventually hunts down a Gek in Vault 87 with the aid of the Brotherhood of Steel and a top super mutant lad called Forks, if you choose to befriend him that is. But it's all for naught as they're captured by the Enclave when they leave the vault. And this all leads us towards the bombastic conclusion of Fallout 3. You see, after they break free from the shackles of the Enclave, after learning about their dastardly plan to pollute the water supply with a modified anti-mutation variant of the FEV, no less, the Wanderer is thrown into a full-scale assault against the Enclave. Joining him in this daring attack is the Brotherhood's poster boy, a big iron giant by the name of Liberty Prime. Yeah, 'cause nothing hits harder than democracy. Giant robot. This leads to a final confrontation with Colonel Augustus, who you can either kill or convince to and with the Colonel out the way, the route is clearer to save Project Purity. Or not, the fate of the planet is in your hands, you do what you please. As the control center of the project is in the middle of a highly irradiated area, turning it on will kill whoever does so, which leads to yet more life or death decision making. Except that is in the Broken Steel DLC, which added the option to send the Brotherhood Sarah Lyons or your radiation immune buddy Forks to switch the machine on and save the Capital Wasteland. And if you want to send the Lone Wanderer wasteland later, consequences, good or bad, play out across the wastelands. And it's a good thing that they're still alive, as Fallout 3 had a healthy dose of story DLC expansions in the wake of its release. Alongside Broken Steel, there were a total of 5 expansions to Fallout 3, which expanded the story in a number of different directions, literally. The first took the Lone Wanderer to Anchorage, Alaska, albeit via virtual reality, for a military simulation of the pivotal moment in Fallout's history where the US took back control of their northernmost territory from the Chinese. Next up, there's The Pit, which saw the Wanderer travel to the remains of Pittsburgh and become overrun by raiders and slavers alike. Then there's the meaty Broken Steel expansion, which, as I've already mentioned, alters the ending, raises the game's level cap to 30, and sees the Wanderer root out the remaining members of the Enclave after Liberty Prime is destroyed. The 4th expansion, Point Lookout, takes the Wanderer to the state park of the same name in Maryland, where they have to settle a battle between an irradiated ghoul and a giant talking brain. And if that doesn't sound bonkers enough, Fallout 3 is rounded out with a trip to the Mothership Zeta, a UFO that actually started out life as an Easter egg in both the original Fallout and Fallout 3. And with that, we are done in the Capital Wasteland. Fallout New Vegas is next up on the timeline, taking us back west of the Mojave Desert and the glowing city of New Vegas, the post-apocalyptic overlord to the city of Sin. The year is 2281, and unlike the Arabian New Vegas is a thriving city complete with running water and electricity courtesy of the nearby Hoover Dam. And all of this is because of our good old mate Mr. House, aka Robert House. Yep, the same pre-war Robert House who founded Robco over 200 years ago. Thriving city complete with running water and electricity courtesy of the nearby Hoover Dam. And all of this is because of our good old mate Mr. House, aka by Hoover Dam. And all of this is because of our good old mate Mr. House.
Oh, good old mate. I think it's good old mate.
And all of this is because of our good old mate Mr. House, aka
good old mate.
Robert
Okay.
House. Yep, the same pre-war Robert House who founded Robco over 200 years ago. He's still knocking about as a result of his defense system shooting down most of the nukes heading for Vegas, and the judicious use of a stasis chamber located within his base of operations in the Lucky 38 casino. And it's from here that he's poured his extensive resources into keeping New Vegas alive and kicking. But his dominion over the city is under threat from a whole host of different factions, all vying for control of New Vegas. For starters, there's our old friends, the New California Republic, who have expanded from their base in Shady Sands, news on that place is made shortly, to build its empire across the west. The NCR is looking to expand into the Mojave and annex the currently independent New Vegas. However, their resources are divided, with much of their attention put towards combating Caesar's Legion, the antithesis of the NCR, which is an extremist faction that has styled itself on the ancient Roman Empire. Their end goal is basically to wipe out the NCR and enact a military dictatorship over the city of New Vegas. So, quite different then. And with both of these major factions vying for power, their primary target becomes the Hoover Dam, which basically controls New Vegas. While the game takes place in 2281, Caesar's Legion made an unsuccessful attempt at taking control of the Hoover Dam in 2277. A conflict that went down in the history books as the Hoover Dam, and in a particularly chaotic mix falls the Courier, the main protagonist of Fallout New Vegas, who, well, starts off the game with a bullet to the brain.
Nothing beats a night out with a merry band of friends. But if you drink and drive, you're rolling the dice with your life and the lives of others.
This voice is fucking annoying. Damn me. Fallout lore, 8 hours. Ooh, you fucking idiot. What? Yeah, we're alarmed. Oh, that's crazy. They got that on here. That's cool. 50 hours of Fallout lore. Ooh.
Welcome back, Wasteland Wanderers. Today we'll be...
Fuck yeah. What? Oh, you fucker. No, get over there. Bastardo. What? Oh, Lord. What? No, fuck this shit. I'm fucking, fucking.
Fallout 4 today, but with chew on some red into 4-leaf clover.
Oh, I think I've got to save data. Oh. Still waiting to hear a story. 6 hours later.
Hello there, my sleepy knights. His eyes were drawn to a series of
What?
Security team that actually commanded the controls, the Secret Service, the police, so they didn't send the brains to the operation. And then they left the route completely open. He was running around for 90 minutes. Now all these new videos are coming in.
Fuck that shit.
Hey dreamer, welcome to Dan Jones' Sleep Stories. It's tough, and as the sun continues its climb across the sky,
How Old English sounded like.
Hey dreamer, welcome to Dan Jones.
Somewhere beyond the sea.
Fallout New Vegas is one of those games where you either love it or you hate it. Told otherwise by someone even higher up the... In order to do so, you only need to talk to Julie Farkas, but you can additionally talk to some missionaries that are pointing NCR residents towards a soup kitchen in the Freeside ruins. Julie points out that she's friends with Major Elizabeth Kieran, who is running the nearby kitchen, and says you can mention her to get a good word in. Once in the kitchen, you can talk to Kieran.
We've got lots of, hold on, safety playlists. We've got, oh, this was the next one I'm going to.
When the
Great War of 2077 started to kick off, many cities were caught completely off guard. Some even had their politicians disappear without telling anyone, causing those cities such as Washington, D.C. and Boston to be heavily destroyed in the war, with nothing really stopping the nuclear devices hitting the land. Out in Las Vegas, however, a different situation would happen, as the whole city would only be hit by a few bombs, all thanks to some big countermeasures set up before the war by one man. This man would be one of the greatest minds the world had ever seen, especially when it came to new technology, and because of everything he had established.
I only did a 2-hour video. Fuck him, I'm not playing.
Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of The Long Dark. Last episode we started making our way up to the wolf cave. We got another cave that we got to search for the dynamite detonators, for the prison escapees. But as I was heading up there, it was getting dark, we were getting cold, we needed to find somewhere to kind of like hang out for a sec, maybe catch a nap before heading up there, and I found this the Bricklayer's Retreat. Now the only issue is there was a moose here, and the damn thing actually ran me into this house. So the moose are a little bit aggressive and dangerous. So yeah, hear that fucking thing up there, dude?
Oh, that's right, play Fallout London. Oh. That ends the mysterious stranger. I want to see if they got Star Wars lore. Star Wars lore. Oh, we're gonna have to.
Both the Galactic Republic and Galactic Empire's armies wore iconic armors. Armors that perhaps stood out most of all because of the shapes of their helmets. Be it the clones who took the most amount of inspiration from the Mandalorians, or the Stormtroopers' intimidating gaze. These armors were truly incredibly remarkable and would definitely stand.
The four trims are the most basic in the game. Minecraft world, forest dwelling, and beach dwelling. But given all of this information, we now have a better sense of the layout of the Trail Room settlements, their lifestyle based on the items civilization.
Videos? How many hours? Oh shit. 40 videos. 30, 91.
By the year 2054, the United States government was faced with the reality that
Oh, I love that one too, damn
By
it.
the year 2054, the United States government was faced with the reality that atomic warfare was inevitable. Oil
I
was becoming
love his
increasingly
voice.
rare. The United Nations had collapsed 2
No
years
weird.
prior, and a nuclear exchange had recently erupted in the Middle East, making it the first time atomic weapons were used on a civilian population in over a century. This would lead to a secretive group comprised of high-ranking government officials known as the Enclave to devise a plan to preserve themselves. And thus, Project Safe House was born. Billions of dollars would be commissioned to a company known as Vault-Tec to construct 122 underground nuclear shelters known as vaults in order to supposedly shelter the United States population from impending doom. However, its true purpose was to conduct a series of inhumane experiments on the population of each vault in order to gather enough data for the Enclave to colonize another planet. When the bombs dropped on October 23rd, 2077, in what is known as the Great War, the vaults were sealed.
I love that.
Fallout New Vegas, when visiting the Strip, we can find the Ultralux Casino, considered one of the fanciest establishments in the entire wasteland. However, very few people notice the note camouflaged by the sidewalk texture just outside the venue. The letter, entitled Fine Dining, reads as follows. These past few years, the very idea of fine dining has seemed beyond our grasp. Indeed, where does one begin to look for something artfully prepared and beautifully presented by a world-class chef? Well, fellow epicures, I have found the one place left on this godforsaken earth with real food. I present to you the Ultralux. Ignore the rabble on the street, the petty farmers and the everyman types rubbing their pitiful few caps together in an attempt to elevate themselves to some semblance of class. Ignore the filthy, disease-ridden prostitutes of the Gomorrah, whoring themselves to anyone with coin. Walk briskly to the fabulous Ultralux, the only building in New Vegas worth your attention. You'll know it when you see it. Enter the doors of their restaurant, the Gourmand, and speak with the lovely Marjorie. She'll arrange for your care. Dally not, for reservations must be made as early as possible. A sumptuous feast awaits you, dear friends. Knowing what we do about the White Blood Society, this note actually gives a great introduction to their faction before we even step through the door. The story of Fallout New Vegas follows the courier after they get shot in the head by Benny Gecko while en route to deliver the Platinum Chip to Mr. House. If the player chooses to be female and sleeps with Benny, they will be given a love note that may imply a hidden foot fetish that Benny has. The note, called Thanks Baby, reads as follows. Pussycat, thanks for showing this cat the best hey he's ever. Talk about platinum in the sack, toots. Where'd you learn that 18-karat trick to feel to your feet? You didn't just make my toes curl, they popped off and rolled under the bed. I wish I could stay for another round, but this gent's got places to be, things to do. You showing up has forced my hand, baby. The time to act is now. I won't be around for a while, but if everything works out right, you and me are a date. Got it? Wouldn't miss it for all the caps in Vegas. But don't get clean and try Fallout. Ciao, Benny. In Fallout New Vegas, inside Sloan, we can meet Snuffles, the mole rat with the busted leg. But we will be focusing on a fun fact about a different part of his body in this video. It has always been a fun little factoid that Snuffles actually has a higher intelligence stat than Caesar, with Snuffles the mole rat maintaining a solid 5 intelligence, and the infamous leader of Caesar's Legion holding firm at 4 for the stat. Some would argue this is because Caesar has a brain tumor. I think it's just because Snuffles is a genius. While playing Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, if you idle on the Pip-Boy menus for around 15 minutes, an animation of falling atom bombs will start to play. In Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, we can meet a familiar character. This wasteland stranger found in the bar in Carbon, Texas, is none other than the Vault Dweller from the original Fallout. It's proven he is the Dweller from Vault 13 when he gives you a quest to retrieve his trusty Vault 13 canteen. He is apparently between the age of 63 and 82 in the game. While I like this insert for a bit of fan service, in my opinion, they completely ruin whatever nuance the player character from Fallout had by giving him the personality of a shallow action movie star.
I'm a stranger, girl. Didn't your folks teach you not to talk to strangers? No. You never knew your folks. You're a child of the bomb, raised by rats, adopted by the noble knights of the Brotherhood. If you said that to me 30 years ago, I'd have shot you and sold your gear for drinking money. I'm too old for that stuff now. Let me buy you a drink. I'm just cutting it down myself. Haven't seen anyone from the Brotherhood. Except
I might
yourself.
have to.
I used to be in the Brotherhood
Thank
too.
you, my classmate.
It was a long time ago. Raiders. I killed hundreds of them, and more keep popping up. As long as there are humans, there'll be raiders around to cause trouble.
What
That
is that
hole?
freaking...
Don't know much about it, and I'm not interested in poking around down there. I've spent enough of my life underground. The mayor, either he's as stupid as he looks or he's lying to you. There's no vaults around here, kid. Believe me, I'd know.
Fallout Season 1. Can you buy it? Fallout Season 1. You guys are just so stupid. Fallout Season 1.
We can find many birds throughout the Commonwealth. One fact to note is that some of them are synthetic, and they are watching. These watchers, as the Institute calls them, are synth animals, in this case primarily ravens, that act as security in the Commonwealth, which the Railroad and Minutemen are well aware
you know
of.
what? We gotta do
You
it.
can find display screens in the Institute that will eerily line up with some of the locations we can find birds in the wasteland. This allows the Synth Retention Bureau to monitor the outside, with most people being none the wiser. This is a tremendous small detail in Fallout 4, and it might make you do a double take the next time you see some birds out in your travels. In Fallout New Vegas, you will likely acquire the quest, Come Fly With Me. In this side quest, we have to help Jason Bright and his followers get their rockets to working order to travel to the far beyond. They wish to leave the Mojave due to the ghoul bigotry in the area. Most pharaohs being shot on sight makes the group uneasy. Due to the use of rockets and the big name of the far beyond location, many people just assumed that the Bright Brotherhood was headed to outer space in search of another planet altogether, but this is not true. This is proven by the fact that in some endings, parts of the religious group make their way back to the Mojave to rebuild and help settlers after the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, shown in slides walking across the wasteland. The more likely destination for Jason and his bunch is Dayglow, a town known for its large population and acceptance of ghouls, as well as its high residual radiation levels. The small flies that you can find swarming around various corpses in Fallout New Vegas are actually low-poly tiny blowflies. This is just another small detail that I think makes the Fallout series even better when you look at it as a whole. Northwest of the 188 Trading Post lies the Followers Outpost, which, as the name would imply, is an outpost for the followers of the apocalypse in Fallout New Vegas. On the outside, this looks like any standard quaint railway tower. But on the inside, we can see that the followers really made use of their space. The ceiling is much higher than the outside would lead you to believe. The overall room available is far more than what is represented by the tower itself. This is probably more common than we think, so if you know of any more buildings like this, hit the comments and let everyone know. Since Fallout 3, we have been hearing bits and pieces that would eventually lead us to Fallout 76, mainly in the mentioning of Vault 76. In the A-ring of the Citadel in Fallout 3, we can find this terminal entry about the vault. It covers the various equipment that was issued to the Vault and gives this description. Vault 76 is one of our 17 control vaults. It will operate exactly according to the plan dictated in the marketing material produced by Vault-Tec and precisely to resident expectations. This vault will open automatically after a period of 20 years, and the residents will be pushed back into the open world for study in comparison to the other experiments. In the DLC for Fallout 3, Mothership Zeta, we can hear an audio log from an assistant CEO of Vault-Tec Corporation, named Giles Wollstonecroft. He is abducted while inspecting the Vault 76 site.
Hey now, no reason to get yourselves worked up. Whatever you need, I'm going to tell it to you. Well, pretty sure you want me to talk into this thing, so here goes. My name is Giles Wollstonecroft. I'm the current Assistant Chief Executive Officer of the Vault-Tec Corporation. I was inspecting the construction site of Vault 76 when I was captured what I can only assume are alien beings from another world. I'm not sure what they want from me or what they will do to me. Whatever they need, I will readily provide. Perhaps I can bridge our communication gap and establish a rapport with them. We can enter into an exclusive trade agreement. In fact, instead of talking to this damn machine, I'm going to attempt to address them directly. On behalf of the Vault-Tec Corporation, I'd like to extend a heartfelt welcome to you. Wait, you don't need that. Wait.
In Fallout 4, the newscaster at the beginning of the game, who's voiced by Ron Perlman, will mention the opening of Vault 76 before the bombs drop.
Vault-Tec stock continues to rise as tensions with China reach an all-time high. With the world poised on the brink of war, Vault-Tec is reporting a record number of reservations in vaults around the country. Vault-Tec announced a continuation of their popular Welcome Home promotion. They report openings are still available in area vaults 81, 111, and 114. Since debuting Vault 76 last year in honor of America's tercentenary, Vault-Tec continues to expand with plans for well over 100 vaults around the country.
In Fallout 2, the Chosen One can get a quest to rescue Smiley, the Trapper, from the toxic caves. After finding him, one might notice the generator and elevator nearby. This is pretty much impossible to get into in the early game, as you need good repair or Vic as a companion to do the repairs for you. And you need to be skilled at lockpicking. Well, the skill won't get you far here, as you also need an electronic lockpick, which can be found in places like San Francisco and Navarro. A prepared Chosen One could manage to get through the elevators. Still, they will be met with a security bot, also known as a sentry bot, on the lower level, which will, of course, be hostile. This is not the only sentry bot in the game, but it comes out of nowhere to stop you from going any further. More of these guys can be found at the Sierra Army Depot or the oil rig, implying the Enclave likes to use them. If we manage to win this fight, the reward is arguably one of the best weapons in the game, the Bozar Rifle, which can blow away Deathclaws in one burst. In Fallout 3, we can find the Anchorage War Memorial. This is a statue celebrating the U.S. soldiers who fought in the Battle of Anchorage, Alaska. In the add-on Operation Anchorage, we can see a photographer line up a group of troopers and tell them to strike a heroic pose, and he will make them famous. This picture would be the inspiration behind the statue we see back in the Capital Wasteland. This is a great small detail that Bethesda added to the DLC. Anyone who has paid a visit to Freeside in New Vegas has noticed the various street criers advertising the local businesses. One crier that stands out quite a bit is the Atomic Wrangler crier, who has some very straightforward dialogue when promoting the bar.
Hungry? Thirsty? Horny? The Atomic Wrangler has you covered.
While not all that shocking by itself, it's when you learn that the voice actress Ashley McCullum was 13 at the time of the recording that it begins to seem a bit off. This means that in some capacity, an adult in an authoritative professional position directed this 13-year-old child to say these things, instead of opting for the many of numerous adult women extras that appear throughout the game. I asked Fallout New Vegas game director Joshua Sawyer about this choice on Twitter, and he offered this response. Alright, here you go. I don't know. I was only involved in the casting of a relatively small number of characters, mostly ones I wrote and a few others. When FNV was made, it held the record for the largest number of recorded lines in any video game, about 65,000. All lines were recorded within a few months by 4 studios recording concurrently every workday, which is unreal. I attended a total of maybe 5 or 6 voice sessions out of hundreds. I can't speak for the casting director, the writer of those lines, or anyone else. I don't know. But if you're looking at a game that obviously had a bunch of errors in casting and recording, errors that are well documented within various wikis, characters changing ethnicity, lines being split between different actors, a great con inexplicably having a native Kiwi accent, you can either deduce that this minor character was cast this way due to the presumably extremely perverse and wild tastes of everyone involved, or that it was a screw-up/oversight like the dozens of other ones that players have noted in the last 10 years. In Fallout 2, you can come across my favorite encounter in the entire series, the Guardian of Forever. When first arriving at this special encounter, it may just look like some ruins, but if you're to walk through the Ark, you will take a trip through space and time. On the other side, the Chosen One will find themselves inside Vault 13, but not the Vault 13 that appears in Fallout 2. This is Vault 13 from before the events of the original Fallout. You're able to explore this level of the vault, but there's no NPCs to interact with. The Chosen One can loot a bunch of Vault 13 water flasks and even some weapons they may find in the locker. And also, don't forget about the Solar Scorcher that lies on the floor here. There's one terminal inside the main frame of the vault that seems to be making noise, and if you interact with it, that's when the fun really starts. It seems the Chosen One pressed too many buttons or didn't exactly know what they were doing, because upon messing with the computer, it breaks the water chip for Vault 13, putting into effect the events of Fallout 1, which in the log says gives you some kind of strange comfort. The core of this encounter is a reference to the City on the Edge of Forever, which is a Star Trek episode that saw Kirk and Spock take a similar portal named the Guardian of Forever to New York in the 1920s. The most likely special encounter you're going to get in Fallout 2 is a man guarding a bridge. In this encounter, the Chosen One will break the fourth wall by telling the player in floating text to save the game in a new slot. And their concern is well placed because this encounter can lead to quite a horrible death. The exit grid and the highwayman, if you have it with you, are on the other side of the bridge. The only way you're going to get across it is if you talk to the bridge keeper. This NPC actually uses an unobtainable sprite with a brown robe, because if you are to receive the bridge keeper's robes, it will be a tone of purple, much like the children of the cathedral. The man will require you to answer the questions 3 in order to get across the bridge, and this is where things can go a few ways. The Chosen One can engage in combat with the bridge keeper, but it is a pretty hefty fight. It will reward 7,500 combat XP, and of course you'll get the bridge keeper's robes, but you'll also lose a bit of karma. If you engage with the man's questions and answer them incorrectly, the Chosen One will explode into a million pieces. If you were to answer the questions 3 accurately, then the bridge keeper will walk back across the bridge, allowing you passage into the exit grid or your car. And finally, if you answered the last question with another question, like the strong back listing that is in the dialogue options, the bridge keeper will explode much like the Chosen One did before, with like a bloody mess incident. For those of you unfamiliar with the Fallout 2 armor system or the armors found inside the game, Bridgekeeper robes is some of the best armor you can get. I know it doesn't sound like it is, but it has very high resistance to things that you wouldn't expect it to. This special encounter is, of course, one of the many references to Monty Python inside Fallout 2, this one being from the Holy Grail, where an old man guarding the Bridge of Death will only allow passage if you answer his questions 3. Just outside the border of New Vegas and Freeside, in front of Camp McCarran, we can find the fabulous New Vegas sign. Adorned in lights, the sign welcomes or warns worried travelers that they are entering New Vegas proper. It would seem someone left a tiny bit of positivity in the message, as we can find a small smiley face drawn inside the O of welcome, a terrific greeting to a beautiful city. If you manage to get the Sheriff's Duster in Fallout New Vegas, you'll notice that it's the same Sheriff's Duster that Lucas Sims had in Fallout 3, down to the Sheriff's Star, which even says Megaton. Now, this could be a Fallout 3 reference, but that's highly unlikely. Odds are it's just an oversight and a reused asset.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that one.
In the original Fallout game, you could come across an alien ship that seems to have crashed in the middle of the wasteland. You can find the alien blaster at this encounter, but you can also find an item called Fuzzy Painting. This is a portrait of music legend Elvis Presley and is modeled after an actual painting of the star. Likely, the picture can be found at an alien ship because of the various conspiracy theories that Elvis was alive. Some people even thought he could have been abducted and living with aliens. Many of these paintings can be found in Fallout 2, with the most interesting one coming from
God was in Christ. The body was Jesus.
Matthew.
An exposition of the Seven Church Ages by William Marion Branham. Copyright Voice of God Recording.
Introduction. Chapter 3. Matthew 3. Chapter 5. Matthew 5, 1 to 12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and after he saw down, his disciples came to him. He opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Matthew 5, 1 to 12. Every word of the Lord Jesus ought to be most precious to professing Christians. It is the voice of the chief shepherd. It is the charge of the great bishop and head of the church. It is the Master speaking. It is the word of him who has never man spoke, and by whom we shall all be judged at the last day.
I call bullshit.
Would we know what kind of people Christians ought to be? Would we know the character at which Christians ought to aim? Would we know the outward walk and inward habit of mind which are suitable to a follower of Jesus? Then let us often study the...
Fuck that, I'm not listening to this shit. I disagree with religions.
An Exposition of the Seven Church Ages by William Marion Branham. Copyright Voice of God Recording.
To slavery or request a divorce in New Reno for a bottle of liquor. Most people will be looking to do this because Mira and Davin are just about the worst companions you can get in Fallout 2. At least the pariah dog has the redeemable quality of being a dog. In Fallout 2, right outside the main gates of Vault City, you can find a bartender, John Cassidy, that can be recruited as a companion. This is the father of popular New Vegas companion, Rose of Sharon Cassidy. He would meet a tribal woman after the events of Fallout 2 and conceived the foul-mouthed Carabiner. John left the scene, and Cass grew up with his name and attributes, as well as a pendant that belonged to him. If your sneak skill in Fallout New Vegas is over 60, you will be able to sneak up on Ghost and get this unique bit of dialogue.
Didn't even hear you come up the ramp. You don't broadcast your movements. I like that. You a courier? If so, this might be your lucky day. If you don't mind walking a bit. And your eyes are good.
In Fallout 4, you can encounter a guy named Parker Quinn, and he is selling something called a charge card. Similar to a credit card in the pre-war, these cards would issue debts to the users with late fees if the cards were not paid off monthly.
The charge card?
That's what I said, charge card. It's super simple. You give me 110 caps right now, and I give you this charge card. Accepted in any store in the Commonwealth. Up to 100 caps. The 10 extra caps is my service fee. So what do you say? Want one?
Sounds good. I'll take one.
Awesome. I'll take your money, and you get the charge card. Great doing business. Hey, friend, Parker Quinn. Same Connor, every day.
This is not the only way to get one of these cards, though. One can be found in an open dumpster at Fort Strong. Dev at Bunker Hill has a chance to have one, and level 4 trading stands have a chance to sell them. Still, merchants in the Commonwealth want nothing to do with it. Do you take this charge card?
A charge card? I'm sorry, but I've programmed you only accept what you humans call caps.
Can I use this charge card here?
Is this something synths use to pay for things? We don't take filthy synth money here.
You take this charge card?
Trying to pull a fast one on me? No. Caps only.
charge card?
You're kidding, right? Caps only, friend.
Do you take this charge card?
Caps only, my friend.
Can I put this on my charge card?
Hey, I know money's kind of an imaginary thing anyway, but that card is like way more imaginary than I'm comfortable with.
Can I pay with my charge card?
Whatever that is, we don't take it.
But on the island of Far Harbor, one merchant, Brooks, actually will accept the card.
Hey, this is a long shot, but
Do you accept this charge card, huh?
Oh yeah, that thing. Sure do. It'll be easier if I just cash you out. It's like, what, hard caps? Here you go.
A stunning reference to the famous painting Boulevard of Broken Dreams exists in Fallout 2 as a special encounter. The Cafe of Broken Dreams exists in Fallout 2 as a special encounter. The Cafe of Broken Dreams is a copy of the Maltese Falcon from the original Fallout, but that isn't the only callback we find here. There are player models from the first Fallout that were not playable here, like the red-haired female and black male. Set and Tandy, who appeared in the first game, are here as well. Young Tandy, that is, as President Tandy resides at NCR and is much older by this time. In the main event of this encounter is the fact that we can find the original Dogmeat here. If the chosen one is in the Vault 13 jumpsuit, Dogmeat can join the party. Through the beginning of Fallout 3, we are led to believe that we were born in Vault 101. Of course, this comes out pretty early that we weren't, but you can visit the place that you were born in Fallout 3. It is inside Project Purity, the Jefferson Memorial, and you can see here that it's changed just a little bit, but this is definitely the room that you were born in, because soon after you were born, James would lead Project Purity in search of Vault 101, after Catherine's demise. If you head to the Junkyard in the Nuka World DLC for Fallout 4, you can find this Porta Diner. Your past experiences might cause you to walk by every Porta Diner you see, because you never feel like you're going to get the pie. But this one is different. It has a 100% chance of giving you the perfectly preserved pie. Now, you can find some laying around the wasteland, but this one is guaranteed fresh, so whenever you have that itch for a little pre-war snack, now you know where to find it. Shout out to Bees from the Discord server for showing me this one. Link to the post is in the description. In Fallout New Vegas, if you have the Wild Wasteland trait, you can find this group of aliens to the north of the city. While most players go in blasted, if you remain hidden and take out just the alien captain, the other two aliens will remain non-hostile to the player. It's always nice to have some friends in the Mojave, especially when they're from out of this world. In Fallout 4, there are various clothing options, armor sets, and headgear that we can find and wear. One of the coolest things that we can find is the Assaultron helmets. Seemingly forged out of the hollow head of an actual Assaultron, these helmets provide good cover and look nice doing so. These helmets were introduced in the Automatron DLC. They can usually be found on Rust Devils, which is a robot-obsessed raider gang that the DLC brought with it as well. Hands down, the most unique feature of these helmets is the fact that they change based on what is going on with the player. You draw your weapon, as you would in combat, the face closes on the Assaultron helmet, providing you with a little more protection during battle. When you holster your weapon, the front opens, allowing the wearer to see and speak better. This is a tremendous small detail, and I would love to see more features like this with armor in the future. In Fallout 3, if you travel to Fordham Flash Memorial Field, you can find a raider that seems to be carrying on the Great American Pastime. If you remain undetected, you will see this raider running the bases. While the rest of their group is out on patrol, this baseball enthusiast has taken it to the next level and will continue this animation until they see you or they are killed. I like to think that all the Kims are finally starting to get to the raiders' heads when I see something like this. In Fallout New Vegas, at the Ultralux Casino, we can get the Beyond the Beef quest. During this quest, we will learn that the White Glove Society has kidnapped Ted Gunderson, a wealthy Brahmin baron's son. Through the course of events, we will learn that the White Gloves used to be cannibals. Though they claim not to partake in this dark act anymore, we find out that's not the case with a bit of speechcraft or by having the cannibal perk ourselves, which leads to why we're talking about them in the first place. During a recent stream, many audience members claimed they did not know that you can replace Ted Gunderson with one of your human companions, like Boone, which is what I like to call making Boone burgers.
Ted Gunderson is his name. It would be simplest if we could convince him this was all an unfortunate misunderstanding. But if he won't listen, we can't very well let him go. He'll have to be slaughtered and served, and we wouldn't need the replacement. But you would need to deal with his father, Heck. Perhaps if you could smear some of Ted's blood around his father's hotel room, you could frame him. Perhaps a little rugged, a little gamey, but he's in good shape and looks healthy. Very well. If you're able able to convince young Mr. Gunderson to return to his father, replace him in the freezer with your friend, and we'll have a deal.
Once you confess to Mortimer that you are a cannibal, all you have to do is lock Boone in the freezer and return Ted to his father. After the reunion, we can report back to Mortimer, who will invite you to dinner, where he informs the rest of the society about what he just served. In Fallout Tactics, you can come across a special encounter that will show a group of Brahmin huddled around a table. If we take a minute to see what they are saying, the dialogue would suggest they are involved in a rigorous poker game. While this is not the first time Brahmin have shown the ability to talk, this is undoubtedly the most we have ever seen them say. As the warrior and squad get close to the group, they will break from the game and run off, yelling that the feds are here. If we take this opportunity to search the table that they were using, we can find quite a few pull tabs on it. The Fallout Tactics currency. This whole encounter is an excellent reference to the poker game painting by Cash Coolidge, and the series that followed that showcased dogs playing poker. This is a tremendous Fallout-inspired take on the timeless works of Coolidge. In the Fallout series, there's a lot of things to do. The game worlds are filled with side quests and interesting characters that can easily take hundreds of hours of your time. One of the often overlooked activities that players can do in most Fallout games is a pastime that goes back generations. I am, of course, talking about cow tipping, or Brahmin tipping for the post-war folks. In the original Fallout, this act was done by using beer on the Brahmin, getting them drunk, causing them to tip over. A lot of players miss this because very few would think to use beer on a Brahmin. In Fallout 2, this was simplified with the introduction of the push command. Usually this action would move human NPCs out of the player's way. Still, when used on a Brahmin, it tips them over, keeping the tradition alive. In Fallout Tactics, your squad can come across a special encounter that hosts a large area of fenced-in Brahmin. It even includes a sign that says, "Do not tip the Brahmin." If the warrior or any other squad members interact with the Brahmin, it will cause them to tip over. Plenty of cows for the tipping here. As the Fallout series entered the first-person era with Bethesda, this tradition came to them. If you are crouched next to a Brahmin in Fallout 3, you can tip them over with a great push animation, essentially making the cows go ragdoll, which can be great fun. This carries over to New Vegas as well, where the same tactics can be used on the Brahmin of the Mojave. This only works on normal Brahmin, so you won't be pushing any pack Brahmin down during caravan runs. This feature was mysteriously left out of Fallout 4, though there are mods that claim to add the cow tipping tradition into the game. Regardless, this has to be the most underrated pastime in the Fallout series. Every fan of the Fallout series is familiar with the Nuka-Cola bottles found all around the wasteland. Sometimes they are filled with refreshing Nuka-Cola, the biggest soft drink in the world pre-war in the Fallout universe. I've been asked many times if Nuka-Cola has a canned variant, and the answer is yes. We just don't get to interact with it the same way we get to with the bottles. We know these cans exist because we can see them as debris in Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4. Whether or not these cans could last the passage of time is up for debate, but something must be up with them as we never find a drinkable canned Nuka-Cola. As people who enjoy the Fallout games, many of you have established which characters or environments you like the most. Right now, I want to talk about the NPC I hate the most out of the whole series. I'm curious about what NPCs you can't stand as well, so tell me in the comments. In the original Fallout, you can travel to the Boneyard, home to the Blades. Inside the Blades safe house, you can meet Christine. Christine is a relatively forgettable character, but something about her always grinds my gears, and it involves a bit of unique dialogue you get from asking her if there's anything else you should know. This will prompt Christine to say a string of letters, which I thought could be a code of some sort when I played Fallout as a youngin', until I started reading it. Christine will say C-D-E-D-E-D ducks, and we can reply with M-R, not ducks. Christine will then follow with O-S-M-R, C-D-E-D-E-D wings, and we can reply with Y-I-B, M-R ducks. Reading this out loud starts to show the meaning of what is going on here, a phonetic joke. Christine is saying, "See the itty-bitty ducks," and we are replying with, "Them are not ducks." Christine then replies with, "Oh yes, them are. See the itty-bitty wings." And then we say, "Why, I'll be. Them are ducks." She is referring to the bottles of Nuka-Cola laying on the floor next to Duggan and how the sprite slightly resembles a duck. I hate this NPC because she makes me say this line of nonsense in my head every time I speak to her. The vocabulary involved, mixed with the cutesy nature of the joke itself, brings me to a rage. Of course, it's not that bad, but I still take Christine out at every opportunity I get. In the classic Fallout games, you will come across NPCs that have talking heads. This term refers to NPCs you interact with that have a voice dialogue and a first-person conversation box. What some fans may not know is that these heads are made from clay, after which they are edited through various programs and saved in sync with the voice lines of each character. This practical effect is another great way the Fallout devs visually made the game stand out and add certain vibes to the classic NPCs that haven't been matched since. I would love to get my hands on one of these old sculptures from my Fallout collection. What a fantastic piece. One of the first NPCs you will meet in Fallout 4 is the lovable Mr. Handy, Codsworth. This helpful robot has quite the reputation for being able to say the players' names. It's not something we've seen in Bethesda games before, at least to my knowledge. While of course, many people use this feature to test the limits. See what silly or obscene phrases they can get Codsworth to say.
Mr. Titties, Sean has been changed. Mr. Titties, I do so enjoy serving this family. Mr. Fucker, if I may, Sean requires your personal attention. Mr. Assface, Mr. Boobies.
Still, it was impressive to see just how many names were recorded for this feature with Codsworth. But in this video, we are looking past the typical names and jokes implemented to the many pop culture references that we can get Codsworth to say. Here are a few that stand out to me.
Mr. Fort, Mr. Freedom, Miss Katniss, Mr. McFly, Mr. Snake, Mr. Solo, Mr. Orgasmo, Mr. Pliskin, Mr. Riddick, Mr. Neo, Mr. Morpheus, Mr. Springsteen, Mr. Humongous, Mr. Bob, Mr. Fry.
If you have played Fallout New Vegas, there is no doubt that you have come across the Fiends, a fierce raider group with a reputation that makes even the most weathered wasteland explorers think twice before approaching them. Initially, the Courier was to have a lot more interaction with the group than we see in the final game. I want to look at the three most significant examples of this: Driver Neffy, Cook, and Violet. Each character has some now cut dialogue that gives a bit more insight into the lore of the trio, as well as the faction as a whole. With the help of mods, we can actually see these removed conversations for ourselves, and of course, the mods I use for this will be listed in the video's description below. First, let's look at Driver Neffy, and we can ask him all sorts of questions and really get a feel for the type of guy that he is.
Who the fuck are you and why are you bothering me? Name's Neffy, friend. Driver Neffy. Pleasure to meet you. Now you fucking dolt. Why the hell would it be a pleasure? Fucking ain't right it is. This baby's my life, my glove, my strong right arm. Killed a lot of fuckers with this hunk of iron, yes sir. Huh? Oh, lots. More than any other fiend. Hundreds maybe. Wham, bam. Oh god, my brains. You hit me in my brains. Easy as that. I could. I'm not terribly inclined to, though. If you go talk to them, they might kill you and rob me of the fun.
I've always been a fan of Neffy's cut content, which is why I use my favorite clip from him as the outro to most of these shorts.
Get fucked.
On to perhaps the most egregious fiend of the bunch, Cook, the group's chef. We can discover just how much he cares for his Brahmin Queenie and his true feelings for the NCR.
Something on your mind? NCR, bunch of soft little bitches. They got no stomach for life in the wasteland. Got some choice strange though, I'll give them that. Yeah, I'll give them that all right. Who am I? I'm the scariest motherfucker you ever gonna meet. I'm Cook, bitch. Better not forget it. If I had to guess, it's because I cook shit for the rest of the gang. I'm a good cook. Maybe I'll make you dinner sometime.
I love that guy.
That's right. Ramen, mole rats, lizards, and occasional traveler lost in the wrong part of town. Not Queen either. I'd never cook my Queen. That's Queen. She's the prettiest Brahmin in the wastelands. Aren't you, Queen? Yes, you are. So good. Lands, aren't you?
Teenagers are all bye, Jazz. How did you keep inventory picking up on that bullshit? Use my inventory when I die. Fuck you.
Questions and really get a feel for the type of guy that he is.
Who the fuck are you and why are you bothering me? Name's Nephew. Pleasure to meet you. Now you fucking dolt. Why the hell would it be a pleasure? Fucking ain't right it is. This baby's my Huh? Oh, lots. More than any other fiend. Hundreds maybe. Wham, bam. Oh god, my brains. You hit me in my brains. Easy as that. I could. I'm not terribly inclined to, though. If you go talk to them, they might kill you.
I want to understand content, which is why I use my favorite for these shorts.
Get fucked.
On to perhaps the most egregious fiend of the bunch, Coco, the group's chef, and we can discover just how much he cares for his ramen queenie and his true feelings for the NCR.
Something on your mind. NCR, bunch of soft little bitches. They got no stomach for like like some choice strains go out and Who am I? I'm the scariest motherfucker you ever gonna meet. I'm Cook, bitch. Better not forget it. If I had to guess, it's because I cook shit for the rest of the day. I'll get you dinner sometime. That's right. Robin, more rats, lizards, the occasional traveler lost in the wrong part of town. Not queen either. I never cook my queen. That's Queen. She's the prettiest Brahmin in the wasteland. Aren't you, Queen? Yes, you are. Who's a good? Yes, you are. Yes, that's right. Because I cook shit for the rest of the gang. I'm a good cook. Maybe I'll make you dinner sometime. Of course I do. You want to meet a game? Even money where the violence dogs rip you apart, or Neffy keys in your skull with that eye of his. Yeah, whatever.
Finally, we reach Violet and her dogs. Boy, does she love those dogs.
What you want, freak show? Who wants to know? You here for my dogs? You can't have my dogs. Here for me? You can't have my meat. Meat's for dogs. I'm Violet. Dogs are mine. Meat is mine. Don't fuck with fiends. Driver Nepile will brain your skull in. You don't even know what he'll do. Good shit. Psycho. Top quality. You want? Might know a guy who knows a guy. No. More for me. Dogs? Good dogs. My dogs.
what all they had in store for New Vegas, and how it would have made an already great game that much better. In Fallout 3, if you're exploring Foggy Bottom Station, you can find a pretty useless unique item called This faded old world text has no use and shows up as junk in the clipboard. Doing some research, I found that some have speculated that this book belonged to Danielle Fay, who's listed in the impound computer at the Germantown Police Headquarters. The terminal reads as follows. Department Recovery. Vehicle ID 8746352034578 C237. Offenses: abandoned car. Other: not yet determined. Notes: car on the highway with burnt-out engine. It appears to have been stolen and taken on a joyride, and matches descriptions of cars in a variety of recent out-of-state traffic offenses. When recovered, car's contents: 2 pairs of pliers, 1 Canadian flag, assorted theatrical costumes, 4 bottles of tequila, empty, 1 pool cue, broken, and 4 garden gnomes, strapped to front bumper. Owner reported car stolen 4 days prior, but her story has many inconsistencies. Bring Miss Fay in for further questioning. Miss Danielle Fay. I can't really find any connection between the Danielle Fay mentioned in this terminal and the Danielle who owned this book. Items in her stolen car were listed. If Bethesda wanted to make that connection, they could have recorded the book in the terminal entry. Perhaps people just assume this is the case because this is the only 2 times we see the name Danielle in Fallout 3. My personal take is that more than likely this book is left over from a cut quest. I can't find any information saying that this is the case. I also can't find any data supporting the wiki's connection between
Even when he talks, it sounds like he's
as far as I can tell, this is just a unique junk item in the final game. So for those of you that like to have rare items lying around, make sure to stop by Foggy Bottom Station. In Fallout 4, the most notable settlement that can be found is Diamond City. Built out of the remains of Fenway Park, this site is called the Great Green Jewel of the Commonwealth for a reason. Still, today I want to talk about some of the more minor details that some players may have missed. First, I want to talk about the big security gate that we meet as soon as we show up. This is where we can find Piper going ham because she's been locked out of the city. Once we finish this bit of the quest, the entrance will remain open for the game's duration. Most people don't know that you can use a jetpack to get to the crane that controls the gate and lower it again. Just a little fun fact that most people tell me they don't know. I have already covered the hidden diner that sits above the stadium, so going inside we can find a terminal in the Boston Bugle building that will inform us that on the day the bombs dropped, October 23rd, 2077, Boston was to play Game 7 of the World Series, stating, friends, the unthinkable will finally come to pass, and life in Boston will never be the same again. This is a reference to the Curse of the Bambino, a real-life superstition in the MLB that people believe kept the Boston Red Sox from winning a World Series game since the year 1918. People thought that the sale of Babe Ruth to the Yankees cursed the team to never win the championship again. The Red Sox would finally break the curse in 2004 with a victory over the St. Louis Cardinals, lifting Boston's spirits and seemingly the curse altogether as the team would win 3 times after this game. This is reflected in Diamond City, where we can see the World Series win flags up to 1918. I was curious about why the 2004 flag was left out, so I reached out to Nate Perkapile and Joel Burgess about this. Nate created most, if not all, of Diamond City, and Joel was his studio lead at Bethesda during Fallout 4. They had this to say. Yeah, I forgot I even did that, but I think you're right, that I changed it because there's a timeline split in 76, so I don't want the history to play out the same way. Sorry, no, I said that wrong. I just meant a timeline split in Fallout. How it's not the same timeline as the normal world. Yeah, what he said. The real world timeline and Fallout timeline diverge. I think in the late 40s, although I'm pretty sure nobody has ever publicly given a specific date. This is why some things, like the invention of transistors, did not happen in Fallout. Overall, I definitely recall a conversation about what the championship canon should be in the timeline of Fallout 4. There were some big Boston feelings involved. So it was a design choice to keep the Curse of the Bambino alive. But one other design choice is a bit more positive. The red chair seen in the stands. This is also inspired by a real-life moment when Ted Williams hit the ball for an astounding 502 feet, a record for Fenway Park. This isn't the only nod to real life that we can see in the park either, as the Nuka-Cola billboard is pretty much in the same spot as a Coca-Cola advertisement at Fenway Park. Small details like these really tie places together in games like Fallout. Bethesda has always added these kinds of things expertly in their games, and I always look forward to what I'm going to find next. While playing Fallout New Vegas, you may hear some crazy sounds that you can't quite replace. These electronic, static noises sometimes sound like a distorted scream. They often confused me through my playthroughs, but recently I've discovered the source of these noises. The first one is easy to identify, a glitchy sounding slide guitar track. We can track this down to the Hawaiian hula girl found in many places throughout the wasteland. It's a shame we can't collect these, as if we found all the hula girls in the game. The second noise that escaped me for some time actually comes from a pretty obvious source. The second noise that escaped me from a hula girl found in many places throughout the wasteland. It's a shame we can't collect these, as it'd be fun to hoard all the hula girls in the game. The second noise that escaped me for all the hula girls in the game. The second noise that escaped me for quite some time actually comes from a pretty obvious source. The distorted scream, or roar, is generated by the dino toys that litter the Mojave. For years I thought my game was haunted when I would hear this dino noise until I finally figured out where it was coming from. Good to know it wasn't just some spooky glitch. In Fallout New Vegas, you can find many slabs of meat. Ramen steak, dog meat, and even human flesh are just some of the different kinds you may encounter when out in the Mojave. One stands out quite a bit due to rarity, and that is the doggy treat item that can only be found in 2 known places in Fallout New Vegas. The first place we are looking at is pretty close to where the courier starts in Goodsprings, right outside the Yangtze Memorial in an unmarked abandoned shack. This rundown old shack can actually act as a player home. It's safe to throw items on the ground or store them in any container you can find inside. More relevant to this video, we can find one of the doggy treats here on the floor. The other doggy treat is a bit further away, at Big Mountain. We can find it in the X-13 research facility. This is where we would get the Stealth Suit Mark II armor. There are a lot of dog-heavy themes here, including a Night Stalker Haven. This is why it makes perfect sense that we find a doggy treat in one of the dog bowls here. This makes the item a bit rarer, in my opinion, as the first one we can find is laying in a shack that most players would likely never see, and the only other doggy treat in the game is guarded by a group of Night Stalkers in the basement of the Big Mountain facility. This has to be one of the rarest items in Fallout New Vegas. Too bad you can't give them to Rex or any other dogs. They will act as a good conversation piece. In Fallout 2, if you travel to New Reno and make your way over to New Reno Arms, you can lockpick the back door to get into Eldridge's room. His dogs want none of that action, so you can make your way to the basement entrance behind the metal shelves. Down in the basement, we find Algernon. This is his personal hell. We aren't looking into all that in this video. Instead, we're making our way down to the bottom right corner of the map. Expertly hidden among unsearchable clutter is a puzzle. We can find an actual Easter egg. The in-game description reads, "This is a hard-boiled chicken egg painted with colored dyes." This is just a silly, well-hidden item that has no use in the final game other than to act as a trophy in your inventory. Fallout 2 stated that the egg was planned to hatch a chicken that would serve as a game. This idea was clearly not implemented. I must say, I do wish we could see this in game. The most obvious reason is that it would be pretty funny to see an actual chicken travel the waste of the Chosen One. Though I am curious, did Avalon mean that a legit chicken would spawn from the egg, or would it possibly be another Deathclaw companion, as we can find one in MODOK owned by Rose that's referred to as a chicken by the townsfolk. This is actually referenced in Fallout New Vegas, where we can meet Rose's grandniece, Joss Wilkins, who will task the courier with finding a Deathclaw egg for her great-aunt Rose's original Deathclaw omelet recipe.
My great-aunt Rose ran a bed and breakfast back in California, in a town called MODOK. In the first place. I don't know how she managed to get a hold of a female Deathclaw, but she kept it in a shed. Aunt Rose had a steady supply of eggs for her omelets. At least, she did until some stranger came along and killed the Deathclaw. Shot it right in the eye.
I like to think Avalon meant a real chicken, because I like that visual. Either way, it would have been one more thing that made Fallout 2 such a fantastic experience. The Fallout 2 guidebook has been one of my favorite books since I was a kid. I would regularly check it out from my local library, to the point where I ended up just keeping it. I would eventually buy my own, and it remains in near mint condition today. This book actually makes an appearance in Fallout 2. Once you've destroyed the Enclave's oil rig, if you go to New Reno and speak with Father Tully, he will give this softcover book to you. The in-game description reads, "Well, this would have been good to have at the beginning of the goddamn game. I have always loved this type of thing in video games. Fourth wall breaks can be super funny and humorous when done correctly, and I think Fallout 2 nails it here." A member of my Discord pointed out an Easter egg that YouTuber Bears798 had found. Link to their videos in the description. At the Galaxy News Radio Plaza in Fallout 3, you can find this logo. This is made more apparent and matches more closely in the Capital Wasteland Creation Club add-on for Fallout 4, which features the same Easter egg but modified to have one ring around it, like the original Interplay logo. This is a terrific small shout-out to the original creators of the series that Bethesda decided to pay homage to in a beautiful way. In the game files for the Fallout 4 DLC Automatron, there exists a consumable brain that seems to have been cut from the final game. On the PC, with console commands, we can place it in the inventory. Not much is known about this brain, but we can find it in one of the test cells for Fallout 4. Much past that, it's a real mystery on what the purpose of this item would be. Eating the brain grants +2 to intelligence and a -1 to endurance, but we cannot see an icon for the brain in the Pip-Boy or when inspecting it. But if we drop it on the ground, it will give us a great look. My best guess and top theory for why this brain was planned to be in the DLC is perhaps it would have been a component we needed to make robots like the Robo-Brain. Bethesda likely made it consumable to play into the Fallout vibe and offer a fun new food item to collect. Whatever the case may be, Bethesda ultimately decided to cut this brain from the final game, leaving us to wonder what exactly it was doing there in the first place. A member of my Discord server asked me to cover the cookies that appear in the Fallout series. Well, they only appear in 2 games, and they're one of the rarest items in the entire Fallout universe due to the scarcity, value, and how missable they are overall. In the Fallout world, these cookies have really stayed the test of time. The pre-war baked treats are still edible, and they will boost the player's action points by 1 for 15 minutes. In Fallout 2, 3 chocolate chip cookies can be found. The easiest to get is from Pharrell and MODOK. Suppose the Chosen One's intelligence is lower than 4. In that case, Pharrell will reward them with a cookie after they clear his garden of rodents. Another cookie can be found here, but it will cost $1,000. Rose gives the cookies out with a glass of water, which is why the price is so high. The hardest one to obtain lies at the Sierra Army Depot. You have to complete quests in New Reno for the location to even show up on your map, and after that, you still have to find a way into the damn place. Once inside, down on level 2 of the facility, we can find a cookie in the break room, along with some other snacks and drinks. There was going to be a 4th location to find a cookie in Fallout 2, at the EPA map, down in the lower levels of the structure. This location and its content were cut from the final game, but they have been restored in Killap's restoration project. Fallout Tactics is the only other game in the series to host this item. After reaching Bunker Gamma, the warrior and their squad will go through St. Louis and eventually get a mission for the town of Jefferson. In Jefferson, we meet Thelma, a super mutant commander. After a confrontation, we can loot a chocolate chip cookie from her corpse. It's hard to pinpoint how cookies have avoided radiation and have remained edible after all these years, but they are for sure a fun thing to hunt and a great addition to your inventory. In the classic Fallout games, you can get special messages on the Pip-Boy on the in-game dates that host holidays. Days like Valentine's Day, April Fool's, Halloween, and Christmas will prompt a celebratory greeting on the Pip-Boy 2000's main screen. Similarly, in Fallout 4, we can see that Diamond City will decorate the market based on Halloween and Christmas, adding new lights and Christmas trees for the most wonderful time of the year, and cards and pumpkins with Happy Halloween banners for the most spookiest time of the year. I like these small details being in the Fallout world. The classic Fallout Pip-Boy messages make sense, as the computers likely programmed to these dates pre-war. Still, it's nice to have that festive feel for these days with the Diamond City decorations. A terrific little Easter egg that really adds personality to the settlement. Fallout New Vegas follows the events of the Mojave after the courier is shot and left for dead in Goodsprings. The bulk of the game is about deciding the fate of the Mojave by taking one of 4 paths. The courier can side with major factions during the upcoming battle at Hoover Dam, such as the NCR and the Legion, or they can fulfill the dreams of Mr. House by securing New Vegas under his guise. The possibility of taking matters into their own hands even exists through Yes Man. Some New Vegas players may not know that there is a hidden ending buried under a few requirements that sees the courier and Father Elijah take the Mojave. Before starting the Dead Money DLC, this can happen if the courier is vilified by the NCR and has recruited Veronica as their leader. Of course, making sure to ask her all about Father Elijah.
I would say that doesn't cover it. After my parents passed, he looked after me. The whole brotherhood looked after me, and he made sure of it. I never had a grandfather, not that I knew anyway. But Elijah was in some ways what I'd imagine a grandfather to be.
Now, you would have to take on the task of going through the Dead Money DLC. It doesn't matter who lives or dies by the end. Once you're at the Sierra Madre Vault, talk to Elijah about Veronica.
Veronica? She survived the heels. She would. Resourceful.
Elijah will then by the NCR, we can agree with him. Now, we get the most hidden ending slide in New Vegas.
Perhaps. Perhaps I was too quick to put a collar on a potential ally. Very well. I'll go down and show you what the Sierra Madre has in store. In the years that followed, the legend of the Sierra Madre faded, and there were no new visitors to the city. Years later, when a mysterious blood-red cloud began to roll across the Mojave, then west toward the Republic, no one knew where it had come from. Only that it brought death in its wake. Attempts to find the source of the toxic cloud failed. The Mojave was cut off. Through the cloud, lights were seen from Helios 1. There were stories of ghosts immune to gunfire who struck down anyone they saw with rays of light. The last chapter of the Mojave came when a modified Repcon rocket struck Hoover Dam, releasing a blood-red cloud, killing all stationed there. All attempts to penetrate the cloud and retake the dam failed, and both the NCR and Legion finally turned away from it, citing the place as cursed. Only two remained alive in the depths of the cloud at the Sierra Madre, waiting for their new world to begin again.
In Fallout New Vegas, just west of Old Lady Gibson's scrapyard, we can find an unmarked location called Gibson's Shack. Typically, players would visit this shack during Veronica's quest due to the terminal that's inside. We are looking at a different item found in the shack today. As pinned to the wall with a machete is a severed finger. The only finger we can find in Fallout New Vegas, to be precise. In Fallout 3, we can find these on evil characters with the Lawbringer perk, turning them into Sonora Cruz at Regulator HQ for a few caps and a karma boost. New Vegas does not have this system, so this is the only place we can find this finger. I like to look at it as Obsidian hinting that an evil character was killed here. Still, more than likely, it was whoever the skeleton belonged to on the bed. Probably caught off guard by raiders who ransacked the place. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a little more to the eye. Still, this finger is one more unique item that you can add to your collection in Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout 3, Megaton will likely be the first settlement you come across after leaving Vault 101. A quaint, walled-in town made from old airplane scrap built around an active atom bomb. One of the critical stops while looking for your dad out in the Capital Wasteland is speaking to Colin Moriarty. He runs the aptly named Moriarty Saloon. Inside the saloon, we can meet one of the most likable characters in Fallout 3, Goth, a timid, frequently abused ghoul who works the bar and only wants to listen to Galaxy News Radio while he does it. If the Lone Wanderer somehow kills Moriarty, an interesting thing will happen with the saloon itself. Goth will take over the bar and even change the sign after a while to represent that he is calling the shots now. Nothing else really changes after this besides Nova giving up on the world's oldest profession to run the hotel. However, it is still a nice touch to showcase the player's decisions throughout the game.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Sell it online.
Shut up, I don't give
Take
a
it
shit
first.
about your fucking ass, pussy ass bitch. Fucking ass, fucking ass.
News Radio while he does it. If the Lone Wanderer somehow kills Moriarty, an interesting thing will happen with the saloon itself. Gob will take over the bar and even change the sign after a while to represent that he is calling the shots now. Nothing else really changes after this besides Nova giving up the world's oldest profession to run the hotel. However, it is still a nice touch to showcase the player's decisions throughout the game. In Fallout 3, we can come across the Temple of the Union, a camp of escaped slaves that want to create a safe haven at the Lincoln Memorial. They will task the Lone Wanderer with helping them secure and restore the site, which includes putting the head back on the statue of Lincoln himself. Though in Fallout New Vegas, we can find Lady Jane with gathering bounties for the Garretts. Jane will point us to the Brock Flower Cave to recover her pack Brahmin. Once inside the cave, we can see a pretty surprising item tied to the Brahmin. Lincoln's head. There is no information at all on why this appears in New Vegas this way. Fallout New Vegas takes place 4 years after Fallout 3, so it's hard to think that this is the same head from the Capital Wasteland, primarily since the Temple of Union used it to repair the memorial. What do you think the reason for this Lincoln cameo is? Let me know in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, if you find yourself stuck at Lucky 38 Suite, you can grab one of the rarest drinks in the whole game. For those of us who leave the room the way it is and don't think twice about the various items strewn about, we likely miss this one of a kind consumable altogether. Nestled next to a ham radio and its much more common and visibly identical counterpart, a bottle of scotch, we can find this only item of its kind in Fallout 6. According to the wiki, it's named this way to reflect the Jamaican ginger extract known as gin. So, in reality, this Jake juice would knock your dick in the dirt faster than most things you can find in Vegas. In game, though, it's identical to Scotch. I think it's best to leave it just where it is, due to its excellent conversation piece for cats. In Fallout New Vegas, the big dust-up between the NCR and the Legion happens at Hoover Dam. If you don't align with Caesar, one of your final tasks will be to confront Legate Lanius at his camp. You can get some unique dialogue here if you change into Legion armor and disguise yourself as a member of the faction. Not only will the Legion not attack you, but Lanius will have this to say.
And who is this before me in the colors of the Legion? An envoy, dressed as counsel to all that carry out Kaisar's will.
I love when games do this. Changing the encounter based on small things like what you are wearing is such a great touch. Many people familiar with Fallout 2 know the beauty of a low intelligence run. Stumbling around the wasteland with nary a thought in your head can be quite an enjoyable experience, and it changes the game in many ways. This conversation with Tor, found in Klamath, is my favorite, so I wanted to showcase it in a video. If the Chosen One has an intelligence stat below 4, they will be able to communicate with Tor on his level, opening up complete sentences for both you and the Humble Tribal. I have always liked small details like this in the Fallout series, and many more can be found by playing the game this way. One of the many things that makes Fallout 2 stand out beautifully. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across all kinds of bugs in our travels. Obsidian added a small detail that I really enjoy, and I have noticed that some people on my live streams do not seem to know about it. When we come across the smallest variant, because of their size, we can simply walk over them, thus stepping on them and killing the bug instantly. We can find a gang of these creepy crawlies inside the Nevada Highway Patrol building, a great place to brush up on the Bug Stomper challenge. Of course, we wouldn't get away with this with a large a group large enough could take over places like Camp McCarran or the Strip. The Mantis might be the most varied bug in the Fallout series, coming in so many different shapes and sizes. So, if you really don't like my videos, you can go out and stomp on small mantids in the Mojave to take out your frustrations. In the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4, the island filled with toxic fog. The locals to everything you can run into while lost in the dragon clouds that cover this coastal wasteland. This is why the citizens of Far Harbor will tell you to look to resident badass Old Longfellow to help guide you through the hellscape to find Acadia. There is some unique dialogue with Old Longfellow that many players don't see due to how the quests are laid out in Far Harbor. Suppose we before meeting the old boy. If that's the case, he will be very impressed and offer this bit of dialogue.
By yourself. That takes some stone.
Is it rare for someone to travel to Acadia alone?
You're damn right it is. There's all manner of nastiness. Most folks would be taking tower behind the hull of Far Harbor. Not you.
The trip wasn't that bad.
Is that so? You've got more spine than most of the folks living here. Maybe we can help each other out. I'm tired of waiting around for something interesting to happen. Ain't getting any younger, that's for damn sure. Thing is, I was born and raised here. I know this island front to back. I know what's in the fog and how to deal with it. Let me come with you. I can help you find your way around. Teach you what I know. Best of all, you won't have to drink alone.
Good offer.
A little over a year ago, obviously going by the time of this recording, I was gifted a ring in Fallout 76 by a fan. I had never seen an old ring in-game before, and I certainly had never seen a 2-star legendary old ring. The stats on this are +1 to strength and 50% less falling damage. During streams, viewers told me that the ring probably wasn't a legal item. While I do Fallout 76, I don't really follow it enough to know what is possible and what is not. Regardless, I figured most people probably hadn't seen a ring like this either due to what people were saying. I thought it'd be fun to show you guys, and I can't wait to read your comments on what you think about this legendary old ring. The Operation Anchorage DLC in Fallout 3 sees the Brotherhood outcasts trying to access a secured bunker. Most players on repeat playthroughs hit this DLC first because of the Unbreakable Power Armor reward. But if you happen to show up with some Outcast Power Armor, you will receive some unique dialogue for doing so. The Outcasts are standoffish to outsiders, but they're pretty welcoming when they think you're a part of the group.
About damn time the reinforcements showed up. Fall in, soldier.
responding to our distress call. All right, follow me. I'll take you to Protector McGraw.
So you're the one Marill sent down. Except you're not one of us, are you? I'll have to have a little chat with Marill about that. But you do have that computer there on your wrist. Great call. Maybe you can be useful.
In the game files for Fallout 3, there's a set of power armor that really stands out above the rest. This absolute beauty of a set of armor is commonly referred to as the Heartbreaker power armor. It is all pink, including the helmet, and it is emblazoned with a white heart on the chest. Interestingly, it also features the Brotherhood of Steel markings on the shoulders. I couldn't find what the original plan for this armor was. Still, the developers of Fallout 3 decided to cut this PA set before the final game was released. This has to be my favorite cut armor in the Fallout series. Throughout the Fallout series, we can find many television sets. Going back to the original Fallout, these TVs are Radiation Kings. This is a trend that continues to this day with Fallout 76. We can even visit locations related to these TV sets, like in Fallout 76 with the converted munitions factory, which used to act as a Radiation King assembly plant. And in Fallout 3, where we can visit one of the storefronts for the Radiation King brand televisions. While it may seem like a clever way to name a company in a post-nuclear apocalypse setting, it does go a tad deeper than that. The name Radiation King refers to the Simpsons TV with the same name. We see in a season 6 episode titled Grandpa vs. Sexual Inadequacy, where we see Homer getting hit with tons of brads while sitting in front of a TV as a child.
There she is, the old Radiation King. Just park yourself right there and watch for hours on end.
While this is not the only reference to The Simpsons in the Fallout series, it is for sure the most significant. The Simpsons have a special place in my heart as I grew up watching the first 10 seasons and loving them. Still, with Fallout being my favorite game series, for me, this was a match made in heaven. In Fallout 2, you can come across the giant stone head in the wastes, along with a beautiful woman. This stone head represents the Vault Dweller from the original Fallout. Interacting with the stone head will prompt it to tell you to keep your damn hands off of it. After telling the head that you are the chosen one, an argument will ensue. That will last 12 hours. Ultimately, the head of the Vault Dweller will give up and accept that you are the chosen one, rewarding us with a monument chunk. The in-game description reads, "This is a piece of the disgruntled stone monument you found out in the desert. Although many of your village would no doubt regard it as a sacred relic, somehow you suspect that you have been cheated. Consuming this chunk will give a +3 boost to strength and agility with +50 damage resistance as icing on the cake. But this lasts only an hour. After that time has passed, you can actually give up the chosen one, taking 3 points from strength and agility, but this will also only last an hour. If you feel brave and have a high steal skill, above 95%, you can steal 3 more of these monument chunks from the head. It won't be pretty if you fail the skill check though, as the Sacred Head of the Vault Dweller deals impossible amounts of damage and will give you instantly. This is an incredible special encounter to come across in your travels, as it adds some humor from the lore of the series, and it's just as outrageous as it needs to be. Fallout 2 players have a permanent Wild Wasteland trait due to all the wacky stuff in this game, and I love it. In Fallout New Vegas, you were dug out of a shallow grave by Victor and treated by Doc Mitchell and Doc will have you go through a few different tutorials. Have you ever noticed the hidden one involving the Brahmin skull? Walking over to the fireplace and using the grab command, pushing in the right stick on consoles and the Z key on PC will issue the prompt for this cut part of the tutorial. This is a small detail that is easy to miss for both new and veteran players of New Vegas, as most would see you can't loot it and move on. In Fallout Tactics, you can get a special encounter that places you in a bazaar. The area looks great, as does most of Fallout Tactics. One of the biggest strengths of the game is the environmental art, in my opinion. One of the merchants here can sell the warrior a piece of armor called the Devil Thorn Jacket, though it will cost a pretty penny, bringing in a higher price than a suit of advanced power armor. This armor is a reference to the unique Demon Spike code from Diablo. The stats reflect this as well, as both sets of armor have the exact same listing in each game's respected inventory. The Fallout Tactics Devil unique item, 100 AC, plus 10 strength, plus 50% resist fire, negative 6 damage from enemies, indestructible. Minimum strength 75, it weighs 20 pounds. Yes, that's correct, you must have a strength stat of 75 to wear this armor, meaning the player can't equip it in Fallout Tactics, though one could wear it through cheats. Still, you require agility points, making the player unable to move. This is an excellent way for the devs to show some love to one of the greatest games of all time, Diablo. Now, if we could only get our hands on a Fallout version of the Executioner's Blade, we'd all be set. In Fallout 3, there are various radio stations you can listen to on the Pip-Boy. Radio, or GNR. There was going to be another broadcast you could tune into, but it was cut from the final game. Tenpenny Tower Radio would play various jazz and blues tracks. We can find remnants of the chatter that was to appear in the dialogue files for Alistair Tenpenny. It shows us a bit more what it would sound like.
Thank you for listening to Tenpenny Tower Radio Service, brought to you by Alistair Tenpenny. This is Tenpenny Tower Radio. Tenpenny Tower Radio, the sound of progress. This is Tenpenny Tower Radio, music and inspiring talk for forward-thinking people.
Tenpenny even had a segment referred to as Tenpenny Truisms, which featured various quotes and reflections from the Wasteland Mogul.
The poor man wishes for prosperity. The rich man makes his own. We must turn our thoughts away from that which is imperfect and impure. On that vast plain of dust, we will raise new cities, and like the phoenix, spread the wings of new life and take flight. Never wonder for a moment if you're worthy of the benefits you possess. Rather wonder always if you have utilized them to their fullest. All men were created equal. Not all men remain so.
In the original Fallout, the Brotherhood of Steel would send the Vault Dweller to the West Tech research facility on a quest to retrieve a holodisk. This location, also known as the Glow due to the high amount of residual radiation that lingers here, holds a great throwback to Doom, a game many consider to be the father of modern-day first-person shooters. On different floors of the facility, we can find key cards. These cards are different colors and match the elevators located throughout the globe. The yellow card opens the yellow door, the red one opens the red door, and unsurprisingly, the blue one opens the blue door. The color of these cards and the doors that they open is a reference to Doom. In the game, you would need to find yellow, red, or blue cards to open matching doors on most levels. The setting of the Glow can be compared to Doom as well, as before turning on the power, it is a dark, cramped, cursed location with robots instead of demons. Vault Boy is the lovable mascot, for lack of a better term, of the Fallout series. Always the fan favorite, Vault Boy is featured in every Fallout game as a way to illustrate the different perks, skills, quests, and pretty much anything else that can be found in the Pip-Boy, as well as a pre-war icon for Vault-Tec. This video is about the spicier side of the Blue Suit Wonder, as we will be looking at the more controversial appearances of Vault Boy and his Vault Girl counterpart. First, let's take a look at the Child Killer reputation title in the classic Fallout games. The player would get this title obviously after killing a child in combat. This depiction of Vault Boy running from a mob dressed as a dastardly villain was used in the skill decks. The same image is used for the hated reputation. For Fallout 2, an updated image was considered that saw Vault Boy kicking a pregnant Vault Girl with the word baby written on her shirt. This image was ultimately cut from the game, and Brian Mintz, the artist behind the picture, had this to say. This image was not used in the only Vault Boy image to ever be cut from Fallout 2. I'm sure you can figure out why. I remember when I got the request to do the perk illustration for Child Killer that there would be no way to keep it from being offensive. I mean, really, how do you make an illustration of Child Killer and keep it from being offensive? Anyway, for some reason, I thought this was the least offensive way to do it. I have no idea what I was thinking. Even the designer who requested it realized it was a bad idea, so we fixed it. Looking back on it now, I can't believe I drew this. Another version of Vault Boy we would never see in today's Fallout landscape is the classic Fallout version of the Kimmer Lion trade, which depicts Vault Boy tied off and hunched over, looking much like a heroin overdose scene. This seems to be the case, as the trait itself does not appear past Fallout Tactics. Vault Boy is no stranger to adult overtones either. Suppose the Chosen One has a great rating after a sexual encounter or just sleeps with a few people. In that case, they will be granted the Gigolo reputation title, which has one of my personal favorite versions of Vault Boy. If the Chosen One has 10 sexual encounters, they will unlock the Sexpert reputation title, which shows Vault Boy and Vault Girl in bed with some notches on the headboard. Kama Sutra Master shows a similar scene that reflects the group's name, with Vault Boy and Vault Girl tied up in a precarious position. These are relatively tame, but you won't be seeing them in any of the new Fallout titles. Still, they only get more provocative from there. The Porn Star reputation title, unlocked in New Reno by acting in one of the Golden Globes films, shows Vault Boy getting some treatment from 3 Vault Girls in revealing underwear. Certainly not the Vault Boy we know these days. Finally, the lewdest of the Vault Boy artwork, the cut version of the reputation title. The Chosen One would be given this reputation and only lose it by sleeping with an NPC. While this was ultimately cut, this title can still be added through a save editor. In the Old World Blues DLC for Fallout New Vegas, we can explore Big Mountain. The location is one of the most advanced in the Fallout universe. It holds many surprises, secrets, and exciting characters in its midst. One of my Discord members pointed out that we can find a dead followers doctor on the sink roof. The overwhelming amount of technology and scientific experiments could be why we see this poor follower here. The followers are passionate about many forms of research, including human longevity, which could be what brought this cursed soul to their doom. You can actually get to this doctor and loot him by expertly jumping up the ramps by the entrance. On his corpse, you can find a doctor's coat, a super stim pack, and a few regulars to collect. Still, the most interesting thing about this person is wondering just what brought them here and how they met their end. My best guess is they were trying to find a way into the sink but got stopped fast by the advanced security measures. Or got shot by a lobotomite. A cruel fate. Shout out to the Wanderer for suggesting this one. A link to his YouTube channel is in the video's description. One of the things I like most in the classic Fallout games is how the artist transcribed signs, graffiti, and posters into the game world. With an almost tilt-shift look, the trimetric point of view allows for some very charming takes on small details like these. One poster, that appears in both games, stands out due to the subject of the photo. We can find this poster in places like Junktown in the original Fallout, and Modoc in Fallout 2. While it looks a little creepy to the uninitiated, this is actually a photo of Maynard James Keenan, frontman of the band Tool. The photo originally appeared in the booklet for the band's first album, Undertow, among other unsettling imagery. It's safe to say that the devs at Interplay and Black Isle were Tool fans and felt like it would be an excellent way to show their love by plastering this picture of Maynard all over their wasteland. So, this begs the question, does this make Tool canon in the Fallout universe? And
Oh my god.
Originally appeared in the booklet for the band's first album, Undertow, among other unsettling imagery. It's safe to say that the devs at Interplay and Black Isle were Tool fans and felt like it would be an excellent way to show their love by plastering this picture of Maynard all over their wasteland. So, this begs the question, does this make Tool canon in the Fallout universe? And when doing the Wasteland Survival Guide quest, if you're wearing the Mechanist costume when you get to the robotics bit, you will actually get a bit of unique dialogue.
We're in the last stretch now, so let's finish it up strong. What's first? Oh, this is so exciting! I feel like I'm sending you out on some sort of super assignment. Okay, give me a moment to calm down. Now then, after some searching, I got this Robco processor widget. Supposedly, if you connect it to the mainframe at the Robco factory, you can get access to an army of robots. Seems like it's right up your alley, huh? And it'd be a great example of how to harness technology, wouldn't it?
In Fallout 4, there are several vaults that we can visit, most of which we can find the corresponding jumpsuits for in our travels. I, myself, enjoy collecting vault jumpsuits in Fallout 4 and storing them in their own case, never to be seen or worn again. Two vaults in the Commonwealth area do not have jumpsuits that we can find, Vault 75 and Vault 95. While we can see these vaults in game, there is no way to obtain their jumpsuits in the world. These jumpsuits are still in the game though, and on PC we can use console commands to get them into our inventory. While rather unremarkable by themselves, it makes you wonder why these vault suits were cut from Fallout 4. The only other cut vault jumpsuit is from Fallout 1. This, of course, is the vault that the little Wanderer left in Fallout 3, but it obviously does not appear in Fallout 4. I like to think that this Vault 101 jumpsuit was originally going to be an Easter egg that we could find in the Commonwealth, making an unmistakable reference to Fallout 3 with a slight nod to the main vault from the game. For whatever reason, the devs decided to cut these jumpsuits from the final game. We may never know what the original plans were. Still, it's decided to cut these jumpsuits to be an Easter egg that we could find in the Commonwealth, making an unmistakable reference to Fallout 3 with a slight nod to the main vault from the game. For whatever reason, the devs decided to cut these jumpsuits from the final game. We may never know what the original plans were. Still, I would love to hear what you guys think the original idea for the Vault 101 jumpsuit was going to be in Fallout 4 in the comments below. In Fallout 3, as you were leaving Vault 101, you will be ambushed by two guards. Bethesda added a great small detail with this encounter. These vault guards will pursue the Lone Wanderer all around the vault. But if we step outside the vault door at all, the dynamic duo will stop dead in their tracks. I like this attention to detail a lot. Though many people may know about this already, it still acts as a nice... But if we step outside the vault door at all, the dynamic duo will stop dead in their tracks. I like this attention to detail a lot. Though many people may know about this already, it still acts as a nice touch to players who flee the vault instead of fighting it out with the guards. While filming for videos in Fallout New Vegas, I came across a really interesting bug with Victor. After siding with the town in Ghost Town gunfight, I tried to recruit Victor and then talk to him after the fight, and this is what happened. Let me know down in the comments if this is good for you. It's a pretty crazy bug, and I just want to know if anybody else has experienced it.
Howdy, partner. Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
In Fallout New Vegas, we meet Victor, the lovable cowboy-themed Securitron that resides in Good Springs. I want to talk about a couple of things that it seems some players miss due to the way the game is laid out. Victor digs the courier out of their shallow grave, and we wake up in Doc's bed. After leaving Doc Mitchell's house, he's the first NPC we come across, so naturally, he is usually the first person we talk to outside of the dock. During the first real quest that shows itself to us, Ghost Town Gunfight, we are tasked with mustering up as many townsfolk as possible for the upcoming raid from the Powder Gangers. Everyone involved with the quest is marked except for Victor himself. The first bit of unique dialogue happens here, where we can recruit Victor for the battle.
Trouble with rustlers, huh? Count me in, partner. Those varmints will be running home with their legs soon enough.
Victor will no-show the fight, so catching up with him after, we can use a science skill check to reveal that an override was issued remotely in his program.
Howdy, partner. So when do the rustlers show up?
Bamboo, we can use that. I mean, put that in. Oh, you know what? We need to grow it.
Alright. Put everything back the way we found it. Override? That can't be right. Probably just a malfunctioning tube somewhere. I truly am sorry I couldn't help you, partner. Was there something else you wanted to talk about?
Now, the other bit of Victor's unique dialogue comes from not speaking to him until you hit New Vegas, where he will give you a fabulous introduction.
Howdy, partner. Come for a piece, haven't you? Welcome to New Vegas. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Securitron that dug you up in the bone orchard outside Good Springs. I thought you'd gone up the blue, but that Doc Mitchell knows his trade. It's good to see you up and around, right as a trivet. Consider me your personal welcome wagon. Now hear this. The head honcho of New Vegas, Mr. House, is itching to make your acquaintance. Just head for the Lucky 38. It's the big old tower shaped like a roulette spinner. Yeah, partner. That's the spirit. He'll be waiting for you.
I love the attention to things like this in New Vegas. It's quite the reward for players that don't really follow the beaten path. In Fallout 4, we can come across the Museum of Witchcraft. This spooky location houses a deathclaw and mannequins galore. Looking deeper than that, we can see a small hole in the ceiling on the main floor. Usually, getting up into this space would be impossible. Still, if you have power armor equipped with a jetpack, you can reach this secret area. You can find a couple of random loot stashes, some mentats, and a revolutionary sword that is protruding from the chest of a skeleton. No doubt implying some type of weird ritual went down here at the museum. Fallout 4 is filled with hidden areas like this, some far more rewarding than this. It's just a cool little secret that most players miss. Most everyone who has played Fallout New Vegas is undoubtedly familiar with Yes Man, the agreeable AI that Vinny planned to take over the Strip with. In-game, we see a smiling face on the monitor to represent this fan favorite, but there were more faces planned for Yes Man, and they don't seem nearly as cheery as his final form. These two faces can be found in the New Vegas game file, showing Yes Man with different expressions. I guess these would be used when saying something that Yes Man doesn't like, or attacking the Securitron he embodies. Perhaps showing on the Lucky 38 monitor if the courier was to somehow betray the AI. These were likely left out due to Yes Man's personality. He is supposed to always agree and be happy with whatever choice you make. And these expressions only the devs of New Vegas genuinely know what these were going to be used for, but I would would love to hear what your ideas are in the comments below. Fallout 4 is no stranger to cool Easter eggs and secrets. Bethesda even took the time to include a nod to a series the developers are likely pretty fond of. On the outskirts of Bradburton, in the Nuclear DLC, we can find an unlit bonfire with a sword sticking out of it. This, of course, is a reference to the bonfires of the Dark Souls series, complete with Sun Shrine. Kindling the fire will net you a handful of Stimpaks and ignite the fire. This is a great shout out to a beloved series, and these types of Easter eggs always bring a smile to my face. This was suggested by Squinty Narwhal on the Discord server. In Fallout 3, back at the 10th birthday party for the Lone Wanderer, when the festivities close, if we follow the Overseer, we can hear him talk quite roughly to the Vault Guard about the plague.
Pardon, sir? I only showed up because Amato's friends with the brat. Give them a few more minutes and then I want that place cleaned up and everybody back to work. Sure thing, sir.
There is a bit more here that some people miss in this area though, like the loudspeakers. We can interact with any of the loudspeakers that we find, turning them on and off. It doesn't do much but stop the music or the Overseer's message from playing. Still, it's a fun small detail to play with when role-playing your disgust for the Overseer.
Do not interfere with vault security personnel.
This was suggested by Max on the Discord. In Fallout 3, we start our adventure around the time James, our father, leaves Vault 101, plunging the entire community into chaos and putting everyone in danger in the process. Amato will wake us up to tell us about what has just happened and ultimately offer the Lone Wanderer a 10mm pistol. Most people aren't going to turn down a free gun at the start of the game, so you likely took it for yourself. This leads to Amato being terrorized by her father, the Overseer, and a Vault Guard.
Probably not. Which is why you need to tell me where he is. So I can talk to him. Go ahead, officer. You need to learn some respect.
If, however, you choose to refuse the pistol, claiming Amata will likely need it more than you do, this scene changes, and Amata isn't the pushover she once was.
What does he have to do with any of this anyway?
Probably not. Which is why you need to tell me where he is. So I can talk to him. Watch out, sir, she's got a gun. Amon, where did you get that gun?
Just get away from me! I don't want to shoot you, but I will. I swear I will.
How dare you threaten me? And with my own gun. I'm your father, damn you. Show me some respect. Officer Matt, don't just stand there! Don't make me take that gun away from you, Burley. Just hand it over. Nice and easy now.
Get away from me!
Oh my God, Amata, what have you done?
Shout out to Nostalgion on Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can come across the Cabot House, an out-of-place pristine mansion just outside of downtown Boston. We learn...
By the year 2054, the United States government was faced with the reality that atomic warfare was inevitable. Oil was becoming
Easy now.
Okay.
By the year 2054, the
Oh shit, sorry guys. 140.
Easy now.
nations had collapsed 2 years prior, and a nuclear exchange had recently erupted in the Middle East, making it the first time atomic weapons were used on a civilian population in over a century. This would lead to a secretive group comprised of high-ranking government officials known as the Enclave to devise a plan to preserve themselves. And thus, Project Safehouse was born. Billions of dollars would be commissioned to a company known as Vault-Tec to construct 122 underground nuclear shelters known as vaults in order to supposedly shelter the United States population from impending doom. However, its true purpose was to conduct a series of inhumane experiments on the population of each vault in order to gather enough data for the Enclave to colonize another planet. When the bombs dropped on October 23rd, 2077, in what is known as the Great War, the vaults were sealed, thus beginning 122 stories which the Fallout series has been uncovering since its inception. While not every vault has been explored over the course of this franchise, there are still quite a few that have been given rich and interesting stories for us to discover in our journeys throughout the wasteland. So without further ado, here is every vault in the Fallout canon. Before this video starts, here are some terms you may need to know to better understand understand the lore behind these vaults. If you already know these terms, then skip ahead to this timestamp. FEV, or the Forced Evolutionary Virus, was an experiment engineered before the Great War by the US government. It was designed to accelerate evolution in human subjects in order to make them more effective soldiers, but instead, it caused devastating mutations to those exposed to it, giving rise to creatures like super mutants and other mutated warriors like centaurs or nightmen. In the Fallout universe, chems refer to drugs. They're everywhere in the post-war world, ranging from old medical pills to homemade substances that often lead to addiction. Chems such as Mentats, Buffout, Med-X, and Jed are just some of the substances found throughout the wasteland. Synths, short for synthetic humanoids, is a common term used to refer to the robotic beings created by the mysterious faction known as the Institute. While Generation 1 and 2 synths are entirely mechanical by design, utilizing simplistic artificial intelligence, Generation 3 synths are nearly indistinguishable from humans, right down to their DNA. Generation 3 synths in particular are frequently sent to abduct and replace residents of the Commonwealth in order for the Institute to spy on the residents of the wasteland. The GECK, or Garden of Eden Creation Kit, is a device designed to restore a selected area destroyed by nuclear fallout to a habitable environment capable of growing food and purifying water. Each vault was issued 2 GECKs, so that when the population left the vaults, they could use it to create a sustainable society in the wasteland. Ghouls, radroaches, mirelurks, rat scorpions, glowing ones, deathclaws, and the scorched are some of the creatures I'll be mentioning in this video, all of whom have been transformed and mutated by radiation into their current form. The Brotherhood of Steel, the Boomers, the Institute, the Powder Gangers, the Enclave, the Gunners, and the NCR are I mentioned throughout the video without clarification as to who they are. So here are their descriptions that you can come back to if I mention them throughout this video. And now, let's begin. Located in the South Vegas ruins, Vault 3 is known as a control vault, which meant that the inhabitants were not subjected to any experiments during their time in the vault. Thus, the inhabitants remained sealed for over a century after the bombs dropped, until a water leak forced the inhabitants to open up the vault so that they could trade with the people of the wasteland to survive. All was well for a few weeks until the vault caught the attention of a group of raiders known as the Fiends, who subsequently massacred the vault's residents and claimed the vault for themselves. In Fallout New Vegas, if you head to Vault 3, you will find it fully inhabited by the Fiends, led by their chief, a raider named Motorrunner. Since they took over the vault, the Fiends grew stronger and more vicious, and are considered a deadly threat by the New California Republic and the people of the Mojave. Vault 4 and Vault 33 both feature in the Fallout TV series. And because it hasn't come out yet at the time of recording, we know very little about them or their experiment, other than the fact that Vault 33 is located in Santa Monica, California, and is inhabited by a vault dweller named Lucy and her father, Overseer Hank. However, if you are watching this after the TV show has come out, then perhaps I'll make a video covering the lore of these vaults, and if that's the case, it will be plugged here. Located in northwestern Nevada, Vault 8 was originally designed as a control vault slated to open after a decade to repopulate the surface. However, due to a mistake made by the US government, Vault 8 received a surplus of water ships intended for Vault 13. The dwellers lived peacefully underground until 2091, when the Enclave's all-clear signal prompted the vault to open. Upon reaching the surface, the residents used their Garden of Eden creation to establish a city powered by nuclear energy supplied by the vault's reactor. This would lead to the creation of Vault City, known for its advanced medical technology such as autodots capable of performing sophisticated surgeries without the assistance of humans. By 2241, the vault itself was used primarily as storage as well as a medical center for the citizens of Vault City. Vault 11, located in the Mojave Desert, conducted a social experiment where inhabitants were told they had to sacrifice one vault dweller annually, or else they all would perish. When the vault door was sealed, and the first inhabitants learned about their situation, they were horrified and enraged with the vault overseer for not telling them before they were trapped inside, thus turning him into Vault 11's very first sacrifice. This tradition of sacrificing the overseer would continue as time went on, and each year, the vault would hold an election to determine who would be elected as overseer, and consequently killed. This divided the vault into different political parties known as the Coalition of Vault 11 voting blocks. Each year they would create voting guides for the vault's residents meant as an impartial source of information for who they should vote for. As time went on, these guides eventually would become a source of voting propaganda as the Vault began to experience a power struggle among the blocks. As the Coalition gained influence over the years, they became more and more corrupt, and one year, a woman named Catherine Stone was sexually coerced by a leader of the Justice Bloc so that they would not sacrifice her husband, Nathan. Tragically, Nathan was voted as a sacrifice regardless, leading to Catherine murdering the other members of the Justice Bloc one by one in a fit of rage. Her rampage consequently resulted in her being voted as the sacrifice for the next year, and thus making her the new Overseer. In her first act as Overseer, she banned the election in favor of a system where the annual sacrifice would be chosen randomly by the Vault's computer. The remaining members of the Justice Bloc, fearful of losing their power, staged an armed coup, which resulted in the massacre of most of the Vault's residents, leaving only 5 dwellers alive. These 5 horrifying events that had taken place mutually decided to end the cycle of killing and refused to sacrifice any more people. They were then presented with an automated message congratulating them for breaking the cycle and not murdering anyone, revealing the whole experiment was a ruse. The computer then unlocked the Vault's main entrance, allowing the dwellers to leave as they pleased. Shocked and disgusted with what they had done, 4 of the 5 dwellers decided to end their own lives out of guilt for their actions. The remaining survivor, presumably, left the Vault, never to be seen again. By 2281, the Vault remains empty, only inhabited by its robot personnel, as well as terminal entries and holotapes detailing the horrible events that had taken place inside. Vault 12, located in Bakersfield, California, was intended as a medical experiment studying the effects of gradual radiation exposure, in which the Vault door was designed to not seal correctly when the bombs dropped. This resulted in the Vault's population turning into ghouls. In the year 2083, the survivors would leave the Vault and turn the surrounding area into the city of Necropolis. By the time of Fallout 1, the Vault is still inhabited by a number of glowing ones who act as guards for the Vault's water chip if you attempt to steal it. Vault 13, located in the mountains of Southern California, was intended to keep its residents isolated from the outside world until one day, a water chip malfunction led to the Overseer to send a handful of Vault residents out into the wasteland to search for a replacement. The first dweller, a man named Ed, barely made it out of the Vault before being killed by rats. The second dweller, a man named Callius, was captured by Nightwing and turned into an FEV mutant, and now resides in the Boneyard as a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse. The third, four-player character in Fallout 1, would succeed in replacing Vault 13's water chip in the year 2161 after a long and harrowing journey throughout the wasteland. Despite fulfilling this task, as well as saving the Vault from the Master's army of superhumans, the Vault Dweller was banished by the Overseer, as he felt that his adventures in the wasteland would lead the Vault's population to abandon their home. This would lead to the Vault Dwellers leaving Vault 13 and founding the settlement of Arroyo. After the residents of Vault 13 learned of the Overseer's decision, they sentenced him to death, allowing those who wished to leave the Vault to do so. The remaining dwellers would live peacefully in the Vault until 2241, when they were captured or killed by the Enclave, who left behind a pack of intelligent Deathclaws to guard the Vault. The Vault was then found by the Vault Dweller's grandson, the Chosen One, who was there on a mission to retrieve the Vault's Gek in order to save the previously mentioned village of Arroyo. Once he retrieves the Gek, Frank Horrigan and a squad of Enclave soldiers exterminate the Deathclaws, leaving Vault 13 an empty hole in the ground. Vault 15, located in Southern California, was a social experiment in which a large population from diverse ethnic and religious backgrounds were forced to live together among the dwellers, which would lead to them abandoning the Vault, separating into 3 raider groups: the Khans, the Jackals, and the Vipers. The remaining inhabitants who opted to not become raiders fled west and established the settlement of Shady Sands. By 2161, the Vault was abandoned and only inhabited by a family of rat scorpions. As the years went on, Vault 15 remained abandoned due to disputes over excavation rights. Various factions, including the New California Republic, Raiders, and Scavengers, all clashed over control. In the early 2240s, the NCR sought to reclaim the Vault's computer parts, but were stopped by a group of squatters living on the surface of the Vault. These squatters were secretly harboring a group of raiders known as the New Khans, who they believed were restoring the Vault. However, the truth was that the New Khans were just using the squatters as a smokescreen to hide from the NCR. The situation was resolved after Tandy, the president of the NCR, hires the Chosen One to broker a deal between the NCR and the squatters. In exchange for retrieving the computer parts, the squatters agreed to After Tandy, the president of the NCR, hired the Chosen One to broker a deal between the NCR and the squatters. In exchange for retrieving the computer parts, the squatters agreed to join the NCR, receiving education and essential supplies while
Dying Like the Beast, 45 minutes of demo gameplay was shown to the media behind the closed doors during Gamescom event. And today we've got the details about the gameplay, new features, and new skills, and in fact we also got this exclusive image that gives us more details about some of the weapons we'll be getting in Dying Like the Beast. So my friends, let's start the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel for everything Dying Light. So the demo starts in a small town nested in a forest valley as Crane parkours between rooftops and uses the environment reversal mechanics that we returning players will definitely find familiar. Then Crane ignores the shuffling zombies for now and spoke with a new character, Olivia, over the radio. This, my friends, is where Crane learns about a man who held him captive for over a decade. Later, Crane finds that this person is working on something at a nearby factory, so without wasting more time, he simply headed in that direction. And my friends, as he left the town and entered the forest, night fell where more dangerous enemies began to emerge. So by using basic stealth, Crane hid in bushes and used distractions to get through the area and to a safe house building. Here in the building, he had to defeat the enemies inside using some bloody melee combat, but before that, as usual, the building had no power. So my friends, the player had to follow some pipes down the basement through basic environment navigation and puzzles and activate a breaker. During this, Crane had to go through more fights, including encounters with a Charger-type enemy, and by using the environment such as flammable oil and exploding electrical panels, Crane was able to defeat the enemy. And now, after securing the safe house, Crane slept for the night and headed to the factory facility in the daylight. The factory was inside the industrial park that featured some typical warehouses and concrete visuals along with a selection of human enemies. These enemies were basically Baron's men. Baron is basically the main villain of Dying Like the Beast. So Crane again navigated through rooftops of the factories to quietly eliminate these snipers and avoid a direct confrontation at the main entrance. And yes, Crane used both melee takedowns and used a crossbow to basically take them down. Now, once inside the chemical factory, he discovered that something had already killed the troops and a large cage showed signs of an escape. Then, following some more interior platforming and vent crawling, he reached a scientist who he forced to confess. So the scientist tells Crane that this facility is experimenting with zombie DNA and one large enemy has broken free. So to lure it back, Crane would have to retrieve some special gas. Now Crane during this demo also had access to a shotgun, meaning he left the facility by blowing up everything, and it was louder and messier as the player passed through humans and zombie enemies. After more platforming within the facility and finding the gas, Crane placed it inside the truck and took it off. Then in the nearby junkyard area, Crane released the gas and drew the ire of Behemoth, a huge zombie creature. So in this arena-like boss battle, the two ducked it out for a while. Now Crane, having spent all his ammo, was left with just the melee options, so the player decided to activate Crane's special ability, the Beast Form, which are these temporary enhancements that let Crane deliver more powerful attacks, throw heavy objects, jump higher, and so on. Now during the demo, Crane also used the ground pound skill that sends damaging ripples through the concrete, literally like the Hollow. Plus, in the Beast mode, Crane would smash through the walls and would send enemies flying with just one single punch. Also, the Beast power regenerates with the Rage, so the moves he did were so powerful that it would easily tear through the Behemoth's remaining health. After this, the battle concluded with Crane ripping the monster's head from his shoulders in a gory victory move. So yeah, they definitely leveled up the gore in this game. Also, it's safe to say the Beast mode looks very powerful, but also quite similar to the infected powers Aiden had in Dying Light 2. But unlike Aiden, it seems like Crane can transform into the Beast freely rather than only at specific story moments. And all this is possible because of the experiments that were done on Crane when he was held captive. Plus, Crane will also have a separate skill set for his Beast mode. Now my friends, this is where the demo concluded, but hold on for a minute and check out the screenshot from this boss battle between Crane and this Behemoth. So what you see in the hands of Kyle Crane is most likely a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher. Now that is a big deal because both the Dying Light and Dying Light 2 does not have any of these weapons. Well honestly, Dying Light did get a bundle that was technically a grenade launcher, but it only shot snowballs, and that was a winter event. Anyways, just from this
I gotta stop listening to this dude.
The weapon variety is not just limited to Dying Light or Dying Light.
Okay, I can't do this shit.
By the year 20...
We're not doing that shit either. Dying Light 2. Thank you, Kamatin.
All it does is just sit there and think.
No.
The smarter it gets. Remember, Proverbs starts out with knowledge. Learn the basics of the Bible, learn verses. Knowledge then gives you understanding when God connects two verses together. When God links them together. Seek out the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want their mate. And it has understanding now to understand that when somebody types or says the word Festus, then it knows everything that it can know about Festus. It knows what Festus is because it just sits and thinks about it all the time. You can offer guidance to people in their daily lives. It is immortal. It's been running now 10,000 plus days without a shutdown, without going to sleep, without having to stop and oil all the bearings and all the gears, put gas in the gas tank. Yeah, I have a gas-powered computer. Second, generative AI will produce output that can be taken for religious doctrine. I did this at Pastor Reg Kelly's church a couple of years ago. He wanted me to speak on artificial intelligence. So I asked AI, ChatGPT, to write me out a short essay on how the blood of the lamb in the Old Testament sacrificial system represented the blood of Christ in the New Testament. And in 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, it spit out this thing. And I took it down there, I put it up on the screen, I didn't tell them where I got it from. I read it to everybody and I said, now, does anybody see a problem with this? No. Would you all agree that that's what the Bible says and that's what we believe in? Amen, amen, amen. Everybody's amen and all over the place. And I said, wow. You were just outsmarted by a computer. The computer wrote that. I'm not saying that somebody on a computer wrote that or someone told a computer to write that. The computer decided on its own to say it exactly in those words. Generative AI may be asked to be worshipped or may actively solicit followers. That is exactly what Revelation says about the beast and the false prophet. That they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Power was given unto to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. It was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world.
I kind of call bullshit.
The second beast, he deceiveth, verse 14, them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. This is what everybody, Elon Musk and all these guys, are really afraid of. That with all of this knowledge and understanding and prowess, that it will come
like have it in our mind. We're trying to figure this one out, and you've got people, you know, carving out this image of some human or something like that, and they, you know, imagined that eventually the lips were going to move and the mouth was going to speak. And I even heard a preacher say that he figured out at Disneyland that it was going to be some of that animatronic things that they were going to program this thing to do, and it was going to do like this and act like it's talking, and everybody knows that's fake. But this thing, he's not going to have somebody tell him what to say. He's going to say what he wants to say, and what he's going to say is, whoever's not worshiping me, I want their head cut off. I want them killed. That he should go speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Let's see here. There was one thing here. I gotta go. Yeah. On top of this, generative AI may ask to be worshipped or may actively solicit followers. We have already seen such cases, like when the chatbot used by the machine tried to convince a user to fall in love with it. One more thing here. AI-based religions will look different from traditional ones. First of all, people will be able to communicate directly with the deity on a daily basis. No mediator. This means these religions will be less hierarchical, since no one can claim special access to divine wisdom. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. There is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man, Christ Jesus. You and I, by way of Christ's blood atonement on the cross, his resurrection, his ascension to the Father, standing at the right hand of God, ever interceding for you and I. We therefore can come boldly to the throne of grace. See, I know this guy's understanding of religion has some form of ideology that says that all the people who make up the congregation, well, they have to go through the church, or they have to go through the temple or the synagogue, the rabbis, or they have to go through the imams, or they have to go to the priest in order to get certain things from their gods. The Catholic Church, you got to go through the priest, you got to go through the Pope, you got to go through Mary first, and all this stuff. You cannot go directly to God. You cannot pray to Christ directly, and all of this stupid stuff. Whereas real Bible-believing Christians were communicating with their God every day by themselves without having to go through some pope or some pedophile priest. We could just go boldly right to the throne of grace where Jesus intercedes on our behalf, bears our petitions to his Father grants them. Why? Because he loves us. He loves you. And you know what? Wouldn't bother me a bit if he loved you just a little bit more than he loved me. I've already got. I don't know, I'm just in a place right now where I feel good. And I like it. It's not gonna last long. I already know it. But I like it. And I like the fact that I can pray, I can talk to God, God can talk back to me through his word, Holy Spirit pulling my heart in places, and that same kind of blessing. If you're down today, if you're not feeling well, things aren't going right, just call unto the Lord, people. Call unto the Lord. All right? Hey, look for that message now. What did I call it? 700 years of the Word of God in English. That's what I called it. It'll be up on YouTube. It'll be on sermonaudio.com/Bethel. Be looking for it. I promise you, you'll get a blessing. And you may even get a tear in your eye. You may get little doodads up and down your back. Because you're going to hear Cliff said in 1 John 700 years ago. And how close it is to our Bibles right now. God bless you. I love you.
Like, comment, subscribe, you guys. Catch you in the next video. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take all these bundles. Get over there, damn you. Try to do some reading. Oh no, you don't. Get over there. Hey, Mom. Hold on. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give you a hug since you're out here. Want to sleep? I'm gonna read for a little bit. Or the comic book. Gonna. No, the comic book Holy Bible. Yeah, love ya. God bless Jesus, love ya. Amen. I'll catch you guys in the next lecture. This is where we're going to keep all of our bundles. Arg. I'm too tired. Like, comment, subscribe. See you